time to give you what you love. It's time to give you what you love. I'ma give you what you love. Give you what you love. I am sharper than a switchblade, first and last of what God made, and that's the truth. But man, keep on trying to hold me back while another chicken head come home confused. Too strong, try to do me wrong, and the last one standing will order and command you to dance. Oh, dance. But tell your preacher and your teacher, I'ma give you what you love.
Good afternoon and happy Tuesday to you all. You are listening to The Source, 96.1 FM, 900 AM, streaming live on wordradio.com. Follow us on all social media platforms at onWURD. 215-634-8065 is the number to call in. If you are hearing the sound of my voice or seeing my happy little face on all the channels, I am Andrea Lawful Sanders, and I am your host on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays from 1 to 4 p.m. Listen, we have a lot to talk about today, as usual. Mother always has a lot to give to you. But the first thing that I want to tackle is this, because people are passing out and dying all around us, and I wanted to descend this morning. Let me find it. David N. Dinkins, New York's first black mayor, dies at the age of 93. This was written by the New York Times. He served in the early 1990s, was seen as a compromise selection for voters wary of racial unrest, crime, and fiscal turmoil. The racial harmony he sought remained elusive during his years in office. Lord, it's not easy, man. Mayor David N. Dinkins, a barber's son who became New York's first black mayor on the wings of racial harmony, but who was turned out by voters after one term over his handling of racial violence in Crown Heights, Brooklyn, died last night at his home on the Upper East Side of Manhattan. He was 93 years old. His death was confirmed by Mayor Bill de Blasio. What do you all remember about Robert N. Dinkins? You know, I remember him trying to do the best that he could as the first black mayor. But you know, when you're the first of anything, it becomes more difficult to get much of anything done, right? So I'm sure the people that came behind him he created a space for the people that came behind him to do what needs to be done. He was cautious, deliberate, a Harlem Democrat who climbed to City Hall through relatively minor elective and appointive offices. Mr. Dinkins had none of the flamboyance of Edward Koch, who preceded him, or Rudolph W. Giuliani, who succeeded him, and who, along with Fiorello H. LaGuardia, in the 1930s and 40s, were arguably the city's most dominant mayors of the 20th century. Indeed, many historians and political experts say that as the 106th mayor of New York from 1990 through 1993, Mr. Dinkins suffered by comparison with the Gullivers bestriving him. Wow. So that was it for that. I just wanted to talk about that briefly. And then, you know, Thanksgiving is around the corner. We're still talking about what's going on with this virus. I lost an uncle yesterday in Jamaica, found out last night. And so because of this virus, no one can travel and do anything that we need to do. So it will be a wedding, a funeral online. And I have to tell you, this one struck hard, right? Because I never, from the time I remembered myself as a little girl growing up in Jamaica, I saw him. He was always there. When I was getting in trouble and running away from my mother and running between my cousin's legs and running underneath his leg so that my mother wouldn't be able to catch me. I remember all of those things. And we sit and we think about now, as we get older, we know our family members are going to pass away, but it is not something that we really think about until it actually happens, you know? And so I'm keeping my aunt and my mother and the children, everybody in prayer, and sending lots and lots of love. I'll be calling Jamaica later on tonight, so y'all look out for Mother to have that conversation. For those of you who have family members who are sick or relatively well, because we just don't know when our last time is going to be, you know, make it right. You know, do what you need to do. in our family, we're very loving. We don't always get along, but we have our Sunday dinners every Sunday, which is what I learned growing up in Jamaica that I brought here to the United States. Every Sunday, either my aunt or my mother would have a big, we call it a big columba, and everybody would show up from all the different families. And we would just, everybody would bring a dish. If you didn't bring a dish, you would help to wash the dishes, that kind of thing. And we would just sit and talk, and that is how our families caught up every Sunday. My mother is who I really learned that from. And so, hold my mother in prayers for me and my aunt, which is just a lot going on right now for all of us. Anyway, I'm moving right along. I let mother know what you all are cooking for Thanksgiving, because, we need to know. In my house, because we are not, my husband is a black, clearly, born and raised here in America. I was not. We have a mixture in our house, so he really wanted a turkey. I'm just going to be honest with you and tell you, mother don't like turkeys. Mother does not like turkeys, never saw the fascination with the darn dry bird. And so I had to learn how to brine it and do some different things with it so that my husband could have it and enjoy it. For us, it's roasted beef, roasted pork, escovitch, which is the fish. Sometimes we bake it, sometimes we fry it. We make Jamaican, what's that thing called? Jamaican potato salad, because the potato salad from America that you guys make here is very different from the way we make it the Jamaican style. We don't do macaroni and cheese, but my husband likes macaroni and cheese. We don't do collard greens, but my husband likes collard greens. So I have to blend and mix what's going on in the house so that we can, both enjoy Thanksgiving. And I think we're going to be able to do it. So would you let mother know what you guys are making for Thanksgiving dinner? Share it on the Facebook page or call in 215-634-8065 and let mother know what you're planning to do for Thanksgiving. Are you planning to travel despite the fact we're being told not to travel? Tell me why you're traveling and tell me what safety precautions you're using to get where you need to. Because the bottom line for me is that all of you enjoy this Thanksgiving, come home safely, and not turn up with a virus some 14 days later, right? If you're choosing to stay home, are you staying home with the people in your home, or are you inviting people to your house, And if you're inviting people to your house, what does that look like? Are you following the safety precautions? For my husband and I, no one is invited into our house, but what I am doing is making these personal little Mother Diva bags for people that I love and adore, who, some black cake. I made black cake last night. It took 4 to 5 hours to make 3 stinky pans of black cake. So I'm going to slice it up, and most of it will be going out of the house. So there's some lucky people that are going to get some black cake from me. I didn't tell any of them, except for 1 or 2, that they were getting some, but it's not something that can stay in the house. My husband loves peach cobbler. I'm not a peach cobbler fan, but I make a mean peach cobbler, so he'll have a peach cobbler, and I'll have 1 slice of black cake that'll carry me for the rest of the holiday. Just learning how to do things a little differently, right? So there we are. Call mother and let her know what you're doing for Thanksgiving. Let me know if you're traveling. If you're not traveling, what you're making for dinner, right? What's going to be different? I got beans, tomatoes, chicken, corn, you name it. Michael said peach cobbler, black cake. Oh, Lord. Shout out to my technical producer, Michael, and my content producer, Brianna. The both of them have just been so good. I have to tell you, there is the source with mother without those 2 people. Brianna makes sure that all my stuff is put up, and people are constantly reaching out to me, and I shoot them over to her, and she lines it up and gets them where they need to be so that I know what I'm talking about, and I am able to research them and do my due diligence. And Mike, Mike says I'm doing too much today. Mike, have you ever eaten Thanksgiving in a Jamaican's house? Come on, man. What are you? Aren't you an islander? You're supposed to know what this is like. Mm-hmm. Never? Oh, my gosh. I guess when Rona is over, we're going to have to invite Michael over so he can have dinner at our house. He'll never be the same again. Anyway, moving right along with the news. Something I wanted to share with you. Y'all, listen, it is not 1892 anymore. You all cannot be out here throwing out the N-word and doing all sorts of crazy things all openly and thinking it's not going to impact you. So the Root wrote, white couple says they lost their jobs and face eviction after video of N-word laced rants against Lyft driver goes viral. Here's a question I find. This was written by Zach Lindy. The Root. I love the Root. Something a place I aspire to write for, because I like writing like this, So Zach Lindley said, here is a question I find myself asking on a near daily basis. What in the Sam Hill is wrong with white people? A white man and his equally white wife lost their jobs after a video went viral showing the man verbally assaulting a Lyft driver in an N-word laced rant after the driver instructed him to keep his face mask on while he was in his car. If this story regarding white people who can't seem to express their already stupid objections to face mask mandates without being racist sounds familiar, it is probably because you've already seen this report. It's because white people are doing stuff like this over and over again. There's some black people doing it too. Let me just tell you about the Jamaicans. When you go to the Jamaican store, they don't know how to do the 6 feet, and they have the mask. At least they have the mask on. They're wearing the mask, but the mask is on their mouth and not on their nose. And you're like, put your mask up. This man said at the Jamaican store on Saturday, boy, if God take me, it's my time, it's my... I'm like, stop it. So another lady and I turned around and was like, put your diggity dang mask up or get out the store. And he did. He put his mask up. Anyway, back to the story. In this recent video, the man identified by the driver and his wife as Joe can be heard repeatedly calling the driver, wow, I can't even read this. His wife, identified as Karen, Joe, by me, can be seen walking around the car and telling her husband, Joe, stop, I am videoing, stop. Ooh, look at Joe's face, angry. You can hear the star of the Clanmaid's Tale you can tell the star of the Clanmaid's Tale doesn't really understand how the whole viral videoing thing works. She appears to think that recording the driver kicking her and her husband out of his car for easily understandable reasons was going to get him fired. I got your license plate, she said. You should never drive Lyft again. As it turns out, the only one to lose their jobs behind the incident are Discount Archie and Edith Bunker. Joe and Karen somehow managed to be more racist and less likable than the original. In fact, not only were they fired after the video was posted to social media, but they were apparently facing eviction as well. We both lost the best jobs we ever had and are being evicted from the house we rent, Joe told the New York Post via email, adding that there really is no context to the incident. My behavior in the video was despicable. All right, so can we talk? Can we talk? Let me just go back over here. Let me talk to y'all for a little bit. It is 2020. We can all have whatever views we want and however we feel. However, please understand that when you're living amongst other people and not just your own kind, quote unquote, that you just cannot walk out there and spew all kinds of racial somebody and you don't have your own business. But if you even have your own business, you have to think about these things before you do it, right? This is not 1842 where you can hang us from trees and whip us with chains and talk to us any old kind of way and it's okay. You have to either think about it, figure out how you're going to shift your mindset, or go on about your business, because what we're not fitting to do in these here United States of America is allow you all to treat us any old kind of way. Did I make myself clear? Maurice from Southwest, how you doing, darling?
Hey, I'm on Jamaica Street, as your producer told me. I got plantain in my hand right now.
Yes!
I'm making oxtail stew for Thanksgiving.
All right, now, Maurice, do you want a real good oxtail recipe?
Yes, I do. But listen, I'm getting my meat at Reading Terminal because they make oxtails look like little steaks.
All right, so here's what I'm going to tell you. Make sure that they only cut them an inch thick, right? Because when they're too thick, they're not that enjoyable.
Right.
All right? And then email me, and Mother will send you her oxtail recipe.
Well, let me tell you what's on my mind today.
What's on your mind, darling?
On my mind today is about them 200 guns missing.
What 200 guns missing?
Out the sheriff's department.
You better. Hold on.
Right.
Let me Google this. Keep talking.
Yeah, Rebecca Reinhardt was on, but the sheriff, Miss Cheryl Bilal, found out about the guns missing.
Well, how long ago was this? Did this happen?
Before she got there, she was doing a little cleanup on her squad there, getting ready for her new surroundings, and she realized that the paperwork is not done and these guns are missing. You
better. Here we go. I found it. I love you all. I love the WURD listeners.
That's why I keep telling people, more listeners and less guests.
New reports find that more than 200 firearms went missing from Philadelphia Sheriff's Office. And this was written a couple of days ago. A year-long investigation has found that more than 200 firearms went missing from the Philadelphia Sheriff's Office between 1977 and 2015. Excuse me? Wait a minute.
But look, this is the main thing I'm trying to tell you. See, it's no gun stores in Philadelphia. It might be 2 gun stores in the whole Philadelphia that black people can actually get to. See, this is the problem. But if you go to the outskirts of the city, that's where all the guns are. Yaden, up there in Bluebell. You can get a gun out there, but and the biggest thing inside the city, to get a background check costs you $40. But if you go to the outskirts of the city, it's only $8. And the guns are $100 cheaper. So it's not the guns that's here. I keep seeing these people keep talking about the guns in Philadelphia. Nobody buys a gun and go kill nobody. That doesn't happen. White people do it. We don't do that. Right. So we got to get it together. We got to give them something else to do. Everybody wants to talk about the gun problem. It's not the gun problem. It's we don't have nothing for the young people to do. We can't even hire them because we don't have any black businesses.
Okay, but hold on. I'm stuck on the guns for a little bit because there's still 200 guns missing out of the sheriff's department. The average person did not walk into the sheriff's department and take those guns out. So where are those guns?
Corruption. That's everything. That's what I've been preaching since URD been in existence. I used to be in law enforcement. The last person you look at is law enforcement, and they're the most corrupt unit in the city.
Oh my God.
See, that's the problem. Then when they start hiring guys that don't live in the city that might know the guys on the corner and maybe to dissolve a problem, how a guy from Paoli going to tell a guy on Norris Street what to do?
Right.
It don't work that way. When I started up at Gradyford, you know what kept Gradyford calm? It was no major riots because they hired a bunch of black guys from Philly to come up there instead of hillbillies from upstate. That's what kept things calm. And, of course, strong black women that worked there.
Yeah.
See, but what I'm just saying is these are the malfeasance of the city. And, it's, I used to think it was the individuals, but it's the whole system. If it's the mayor and it's the city council, they run everything. Everybody else is just middlemen. They just fry boys at McDonald's. They're not the manager or they're the district, regional, nothing. We got to go strictly to the manager, who is the mayor, and his disciples, the city council. They should be the ones screaming about these 200 guns, not me. Where are these guns on the street? And they're in my district. I want it stopped now.
Right.
But you don't hear. You got to hear from somebody like me, who's just an angry citizen that nobody wants to listen to.
Oh, but Mom was listening to you, and Michael.
Thank you for taking it.
I know. I will. I'm getting ready now to text my producer Brianna to get Rebecca Reinhardt on here. Thank you so much, man. All right, and he hung up. But yeah, we need Rebecca Reinhardt on here. Let me see if we can get her to give us some idea of what's going on, and if Sheriff Rochelle Bilal, but apparently it happened before she got into office, but I'd love to talk to her to find out what has been implemented, the changes that have been implemented so that this kind of stuff can stop happening. Gee whiz, this city, man, oh man alive. You are listening to The Source, 96.1 FM, 900 AM, streaming live on WURDradio.com. Follow us on all social media platforms at onWURD. 215-634-8065 is the number to call in. And if you can hear the sound of my raspy now voice, I am Andrea Lawful Sanders, and we will be right back after these messages.
Dietz & Watson has been making premium meats and artisan cheeses for over 80 years. And when it comes to stacking sandwiches and party platters, they've got something for everyone in the family, like maple honey turkey breast, American cheese, buffalo chicken, and more. So get to your local deli and taste 4 generations of family recipes. With Dietz & Watson on the table, you'll have everyone coming back for seconds and thirds. Dietz & Watson, it's a family thing since 1939.
Did you know you can catch the flu and COVID-19 at the same time, or even back-to-back? Don't risk catching the flu during the COVID-19 pandemic. The flu shot is a safe and effective way of reducing your chances of catching the flu or spreading it to others. And the flu shot helps protect you and your community from the worst effects of the flu. Don't say, I should have got my flu shot. Call your doctor or visit your pharmacist and get your flu shot today.
Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. once said, "Intelligence plus character, that is the goal of true education. For all young people to succeed in Philadelphia public schools, they need adequate resources and materials. But not all students have the same access and opportunities they deserve. As Philadelphia public schools continue to operate with remote learning, We at WURD Radio want to do our part to help students have the resources they need to be successful. Please join us and our community partners, Global Citizen and the Cayuga Elementary School, by donating supplies online so students have the same supplies we would want for our own children. Go to globalcitizen365.org to make an online contribution of supplies.
You're listening to The Source with Andrea Lawful Sanders on WURD Radio. Streaming live on WURDradio.com and the WURD Radio app.
Welcome back to The Source. All right, so I'm a little stuck on this. Okay, somebody's going to answer this question for me. All right, it is unacceptable that more than 200 guns that should be in the sheriff's office custody cannot be located, Reinhardt said. The public needs to trust that the sheriff's office is a reliable steward of its own property, as well as the personal property given to the sheriff's office for safekeeping. While many of the issues identified predate Sheriff Badal's administration, I hope that she will take quick action to track down the missing guns, if possible, and ensure proper maintenance of the gun inventory moving forward. But so here's my question. Why wasn't this done to begin with? How did, it's evidence, right? If you are bringing guns into the sheriff's office or what are you keeping it in the armory? Are we supposed to have, what do we call that? Inventory? Are we supposed to take inventory every once in a while, make sure that everything is accounted for? If 200 guns are missing, what else is missing? That's my question, right? Don't think for a second. And if 200 guns are missing, there might even be more missing. That might uncover even more. This is so crazy. And the only way that it came out was that there was a confidential complaint in the fall of 2019 that sparked the investigation. So someone on the inside who knew everything that was going on, as we would say on the island, drop a dime, right? Investigators found guns piled on the floor as well as haphazardly in boxes, cabinets, and barrels. Come on, y'all, we got to do better than this, Reinhardt said. Some firearms were still loaded, which officials said is against common practice for both individuals and law enforcement agencies. According to the report, 25 of the 101 missing service firearms belong to the former deputy sheriff officers, with no records of those guns ever being returned. Oh, here we go. Here we go. I don't understand these people. I just don't get it. You all have to tell me. Is Pastor Waller on yet, Mike? All right, not yet. Is he? Let me just double check. Not yet. All right. Wait. Let me see. Hold on. Not yet. All right. Dr. Eugene Williams, how are you, sir?
Sister Sanders.
How are you?
How are you today? And how is your listening audience? One of the reasons I'm calling is I was listening to another station out of Chicago, and I heard that Mr. Barack Obama was giving his book to the youngsters there in the city, and I thought that was a great thing for him to do. And what I am interested in doing is getting the people there in Philadelphia, because I did hear Charles this morning again talking about literacy and how bad it was. I even heard him say that he had been discussing it with Al Sharpton and other individuals. And you know, our position is that you can talk for a while, but you must act. And so I'm a 79-year-old man of action. I had a birthday on yesterday. Happy birthday to me.
Happy birthday.
And so what I'm concerned about is whether these kids are going to learn to read. And at some point in time, sister, I think we should talk about that. I think one brother called in your show, or one of the shows, and talked about the fact that they're in Philadelphia. One of the things that they have done, they don't teach phonics. I think they should. I don't know how you feel about it, because I know that you are an educator.
Yes.
But we must do something, because you know what? According to Charles' information, he said that if a child has not learned to read by the third grade, he's likely to become imprisoned. Now, I don't know the data on that. I'm sure we could look that up. But if it's such a problem in Philadelphia as it is all over the United States, I think that now that we've finished dancing in the street, that we have Joe and we have Kamala, we need to put a plan of action together. And as I said to you the last time, if there's anybody who knows how to do it, you can do it. I would be willing to start by sharing this article, and I want all of your listeners to read it from the Washington Post, Teaching a Vocabulary of Hope. That's an article about Barack Obama and Martin Luther King Jr. And when I was teaching kids and discovered that they couldn't read in high school, that's the beginning. And then
you know what, though? So let me ask you this, Dr. Eugene, because this is the piece that that worries me. If we're having such an issue, and we are, and when our children get to school, there's an assumption that they can't read and they have to stay behind. I had a reading teacher try that with my youngest son when he was in Abington, and I looked at her and I said, you will not put him in a remedial reading class. He will take the test and pass it, and he will stay in his language class because he was taking Spanish. He took the test and aced it, right? And I looked at her and I was like, so you were trying to hold my child back. No, we're not doing that. So part of that is us as parents teaching our children as early as in utero, right? Read the simple books to them. Do the ABCs and the 1, 2, 3s. Because my children learn to read at a very early age because of that. And all my friends and all the people that I know whose children are thriving and beyond surviving taught their children how to read, so that when they go to school and the teacher starts giving them the yin and the yang about not being able to read, you can say to them, my child learns how to read this way. You know, children learn to read in different ways, sir.
Let me share something with you. I am now, let's say, at 79. I have a 51-year-old son. We bought a house in Columbia, Maryland, so that we could walk right out of the back door when he was a kid to the school. And he went into the big auditorium. There were books, drawings on Ezra Jack Keats books, great books about blacks. Mm-hmm. He touched the wall, sister, and this white principal said to him, young man, don't you ever touch our walls here. He looked at us. We were getting ready to take him to New York to be auditioned for the Bill Cosby commercial. And so, we said, well, we want him tested, sir. We want him tested before we take this trip. And so, when we came back, the reading teacher walked in the room to give us a report it was on a brown piece of paper, a paper bag. She talked all about his negative things. Now, this kid was reading at 3 years old and is now writing books and doing everything. But like you had that experience. We had that experience with Eugene Williams, Jr. And so we really have to be very, very careful. But, you know, you said something the other day, dear, that made me really think. You said we want to teach the kids, but first we have to teach the parents, because many of the parents didn't like to read. They don't have reading skills, and they won't do what is necessary.
Yeah, but Dr. Eugene, hear me, because I have a friend who is my age. She's in her 50s, who was pushed through the Philadelphia school district and had only a 5th grade reading level. Still didn't learn how to read a thorough book, and it happens more and more. So who is responsible for these children not learning how to read? I think people are missing what I am saying here. Every child has the capacity to learn. Every child is capable of being able to read beyond ABC and 1, 2, 3. Who is failing them? Right? No child goes into school and says, well, I don't want to learn how to read. What is happening in the school? Where is the disconnect between school and the disconnect at home? We can't blame the teachers for everything, and we can't blame the parents for everything, but they both hold a responsibility. My husband always says, if a child is in your class and failing, the onus is not on the child, it is on you, the teacher. Right? You have to figure out how to teach the child how to do where the child needs to be met.
But I like what you're saying. We don't see, that's the problem. We get into the blame game, and we don't need to be into the blame game. I know you've heard of Dexter Manley.
Yes. So hold on, Pastor Dr. Eugene. I have my next guest on. So do me a favor and call me back in a little bit. Let me get him on before we get to the next break, okay? And we'll talk about Dexter Manley, because I know exactly where you're going with this. All right. Have a good one, sir. Happy Thanksgiving.
Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye. All right. Pastor Waller. Hey, sir. I always look forward to our conversations because we've got a lot to talk about. Reverend Dr. Alan E. Waller is the senior pastor of the Enon Tabernacle Baptist Church in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Lord, if you all don't know who Pastor Waller is, I don't know what to tell you at this point in these haunted streets. So, Pastor Waller, between the time we talked last week and our conversation today, the keys for the GSA was turned over. Your president is still not conceding defeat. The virus is running rampant. The CDC is asking people not to travel, sir, and they're still having the busiest traveling day of the year starting tomorrow and Thursday. What can we do to get people to A, listen, and B, pay attention to what's happening around the country as it applies to our government right now?
Well, you just asked a mouthful there. Number one, I think we have to just acknowledge that this whole thing was messed up because of national leadership.
Yes.
At this point, everybody has to take care of their own community. All I can say is, we all need to recognize the season that we're in. This pandemic is no joke. It is bad, and we have to take our time with it. People need to be very careful. If you are going to be around family, you need to make the decision to be tested before and after. And, you have to pay for your choices.
Yes.
Right now, we can expect that there's going to be a surge after this because people are choosing not to pay attention, and it's going to be very, very difficult. We cannot allow the vaccine conversation to make us think that we can get lax. I know that we all have COVID fatigue. We're tired of it and want life to get back as usual. I think we have to accept the fact that life is not going back to what it used to be, even when times get better. We know too much now about, there's going to be another novel virus. We've got to start thinking about how we live anymore in light of the world that we have created. So that's one thing. I think also, I was listening to a lecture about how interestingly similar this moment in history is like Reconstruction. If you notice, right after Abraham Lincoln, the next president was Andrew Johnson, who was much like Donald Trump. And the response in America to Abraham Lincoln is the same response that America then gave to Barack Obama. In the rubber band hitting back the exact opposite with a very racist and populist intentionality that ushered in about a 25-year fight, which was in essence a racial war even after the Civil War. And I think we need to recognize that we are in that same situation right now. And so those of us who recognize this moment as a period of Reconstruction, we're going to have to learn from the lessons lost and taught during the last Reconstruction. We are in for the fight of our lives, and we're going to have to hang on. And those of us who are in our 50s and 60s, we have to make the assumption that this is going to be our fight until we leave here.
Come on.
Taking care of our community, taking care of our families, teaching the new norms around how to live in a post-COVID environment, reteaching political involvement, because the easiest part was getting Joe Biden elected. The hard part is going to be raising another generation that comes behind him to steal whatever we're able to put in place over these next 4 years.
I agree with you.
It's a serious moment. It's a serious moment.
I agree with you. So it's interesting that you say that, Pastor Waller, because I engage my children in that kind of conversation to see exactly where their heads are. And the youngest one that lives in New York, oh my goodness, following all of it, talking about what they're going to do, what he and his peers are doing, what they need to be aware of so that they can understand how they move and groove moving forward, right? It's not about hanging out in a club for them. It's really about how do they get the quality of life that they wanted and strived and worked so hard for, and they understand that it's not going to be handed to them freely, right?
That's right. That's right.
And so what I'd love to see, and I keep saying to him, please awaken your other brothers and sisters around you. Please awaken your peers, your white peers, your black peers. And he said, yes, Mommy, we're doing it. These are the conversations that we're having now since we're all locked down with the coronavirus. As we're talking about the coronavirus, though, excuse me, a caller called in yesterday. That so disturbed me because he was talking about the fact that the virus was in the tests, and that it's a coincidence that all of a sudden this virus just appeared, and it worried me that still far too many people do not understand that it's because of the human population around the globe that they can tell you what virus is coming down the pipe because they've been watching them long before they make us aware of them from the CDC, right?
Mm-hmm.
But there are people who think that these viruses just pop up out of nowhere. You know, the more populous the globe is, the more likely we're going to have more of these viruses. And you're absolutely right. The novel coronavirus is only a strain of the flu that got completely out of control. There have been several more strains from the one that we had in 2019, and I'm sure we'll have a new strain this year. And so people have to, I want people to think outside of the stuff that they're being fed on social media, and just really work to pay attention to what's happening around them, to understand why certain things are the way they are. The reason why people are talking about vaccines, and we're talking about vaccines years ago, is because they knew these things were coming, and they had to figure out, they had to put money into research and data to make sure that we'd be able to save as much of the population as possible. Well over 250,000 of us are dead in the United States of America alone, sir, and they're expecting 400,000 of us to be dead. Are we up?
That's right. That's right. So we're right on the beginning of, I just like to name it. I mean, we're in the beginning of Reconstruction. We all have to think about how we are going to live in this new reality. Coronavirus and vaccines, social distancing, and how we repair to one another. You know, it's as radical as, you know, when you read the Bible, it used to say, greet each one with a kiss. And we understand that that was biblical times that has changed to a handshake, which we may be on the precipice of that changing to an elbow bump forever.
Yep.
I mean, it's just that radical in terms of how we understand human relations. Yes. And what I think everybody needs to remember is that the problem is not if the local government asks us to close down or shut down for a moment. The anger that we have should not be pointed at the local government. It should be that if they're asking us to shut down a restaurant, the federal government should be sending that restaurant the amount of money that it would have lost for the period of time it is being asked to be shut down. Mm-hmm. And if the federal government is not doing that, then we should be looking at those who represent us on the federal level and say, why aren't you helping us? Right now, anybody that's being asked to shut down should know their business enough to say, well, if I have to shut down, I need you to give me X amount of dollars for X amount of months, and I will gladly shut down. Mm-hmm. And the federal government owes us that. And if they are not going to do that, we have to then get new federal leadership.
Come on. Yep. Absolutely right. And what the federal government ended up doing was people who didn't need the money got hundreds of thousands, 20,000, 40,000, and the people who really needed didn't get it, right? And so you're absolutely right. It is time for a shift. Lord, all right, so Thanksgiving is around the corner. What is happening in terms of food giveaways? Are you still doing that for the...
Oh, yeah, we did that. We did the big turkey thing last week.
Okay.
And so what we are focusing on this year, this week, we have a colon cancer screening on Friday, and blood pressure monitor on Saturday. You can come up to Enon on Friday from 10 to 1 and get a colon cancer screening kit, of which you pick it up, go home, handle your own stool, and then bring it back. And then on Sunday, we have a number of blood pressure monitors that you can pick up one, and then it's really on a library card system. You can pick it up, handle it for a month, bring it back in, let somebody else have it. We're trying to help people get awareness around blood pressure, the silent killer, and also colon cancer screening. We already had this screening once, and we expected 5% of the persons to come back indicating they needed a colonoscopy, and what we actually had was 14%.
Wow.
We need to understand that colon cancer is alive and doing well in our area. Everybody in the black community needs to remember whatever is happening with white folks, it's multiplied in us.
Right.
And so when America has a cold, the black community has the flu. And so we are trying to get people to own their health. And so that's what we're focusing on Friday and Saturday.
Right. Always a pleasure to own the health. You have a wonderful holiday, Thanksgiving holiday, and may you continue to be graced with love, joy, peace, and the spirit of leadership as you continue your work. And I also know that you're probably trying to find out who is going to replace you at some point, because you're not going to be here forever and a day leading the church, right?
That's
So,
exactly right.
May you be given the wisdom to do what you continue to need to do to pass on the torch when the time comes. Have a good one, sir. I'll talk to you next Tuesday, okay?
Thank you, sis. All right.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
It's like talking to Pastor Waller. I like leadership that, I can have down-to-earth conversation with, and he's super smart. So, we can talk about things that just makes good sense. You are listening to The Source, 96.1 FM, 900 AM, streaming live on WURDradio.com. Follow us on all social media platforms at onWURD. 215-634-8065 is the number to call in. And if you want to call after the next break. I am Andrea Lawful Sanders, and we will be right back after these messages.
Listen to Laborers Live.
We created the weekend. We created the 40-hour work week. We just want enough to feed our family, be able to send our children to college, and let our next generation do better than we did.
To people that might have forgot how important unionism is in a country like the United States. People now infringing on our 8-hour workday, trying to work people more than 8 hours without overtime, trying to work people without benefits. In the long run, everybody's getting a fat paycheck except the worker. So this is really a wake-up call for America.
The struggle is continuous. Tune in to Laborers Live every Friday from 4 to 5 p.m. Sponsored by LESIT, the Laborers Employers Cooperation Education Trust of the Laborers District Council of Philadelphia and vicinity. Local 332, Sam Staton Jr. Business Manager. Local 57, Esteban Vera Business Manager. Local 135, Dan Woodall Jr. Business Manager. Local 413, James Harper Jr. Business Manager. The Laborers District Council, Ryan Boyer Business Manager, and Tony Staton, Executive Director of LESIT.
As a business owner, hiring and developing people from the community that your company serves is one of the best ways to show commitment to that community. Let WURD Radio help with Livelihood, our new initiative that connects Philadelphians with companies like yours. We'll feature your business, open employment opportunities, and resources to connect your company with talent and ensure that you reach your target demographic. To learn more about how Livelihood can help you build your team, visit wordworks.com. That's WURD-works.com. Livelihood is supported by the Nightland Fest's Local News Transformation Fund, Borealis Philanthropies Racial Equity and Journalism Fund, and the Solutions Journalism Network.
You're listening to The Source with Andrea Lawful Sanders on WURD Radio. Streaming live on WURDradio.com and the WURD Radio app.
Welcome back to The Source. We have on the line now Woody. Hi, Woody.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm good. What can I do for you, sir?
Well, I can only tell you, I guess you can't do a lot. You got all these surprise dishes going around to different people, and black cakes. And, my ear's right there by your mouth while you're talking. So I know you can feel the kids say, "You feeling me? You feel? Yeah, I know you're feeling me." But look, it's wonderful that you can cook things that you don't like.
Yeah.
Because my mother wouldn't cook things that she didn't like. But because you have a brother from South Philly as a husband, you got to do what the brother asked you to do, which is a beautiful thing and it's a lovely thing. If you can cook it and you don't like it, then that even puts an added plus on there. So I was saying that thinking about the whole issue of where you're going to eat and all these other things. It's just one day, people. Keep in mind that everything is designed around capitalism.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to think about that. But people have to take care of one another because this system is set up to make money.
Absolutely.
And that's it. So once you start understanding that, you don't put so much blame on a person for not showing up for this or not showing up for that. These are holidays that are made around making money. Now, I heard the gentleman call that Lift Every Voice and Sing. Matter of fact, I want him to go online at www.barbershoptalk and then the letters HFD, like Harry Frank David.org, or either just call me, 215-879-9935. I'd like to further talk with him about this educational piece because I was talking with Charles this morning, and I believe one of the congressmen called, and I made it clear to the congressman how this has been going on since the beginning, us being over here. 400 years of keeping you from reading a book didn't just go away, you see? So when you hear about these things happening, as the pastor just stated, that when one person has a cold, we get pneumonia. You see, well, I understand that. It was designed that way. Everything is working exactly the way things were designed to keep the children of slaves down. You see, it's not to help you get up. You got to help yourself. So when you hear old James Brown say, get on up, you better get up and think about yourself. Do for self. He said, I don't want nobody to give me nothing. Open up the door. I'll get it myself. So we got to understand that the environment and the spirit in which we live in this country was not designed for slaves to rise. It was to keep them under control. And the only way you keep them under control is to control the educational structure and what they know. They can control you in ignorance. They can't control you once you become educated or you're a thinker. And then you're out of control.
I agree. I agree.
So I didn't mean to hit you with all that at one time.
Oh, no. Listen, Mother can't handle it.
Yeah, you can.
Happy Thanksgiving, honey, and share some of your food with folks, okay?
Well, I'm not a cook, remember? I'm going to sit there and twiddle my thumbs. My wife passed away, so I'm going to be twiddling my thumbs for a while. No, don't worry about it. It's only one day, remember?
It's only one day,
I'll
but guess
get up
what?
and I'll get on the weekend and I'll have a big meal somewhere. I'll do that. When everybody else is sitting down full, I'll be somewhere getting something to eat and won't be thinking about it as a big holiday because, again, they're designed to make money on us.
Yes. All right. I'll figure it out. I know where your barbershop is. Bye, Woody.
Right,
have a good one. Bye-bye. All right, George. I did not take any mailocks today. What you got for me?
I was listening to the whole education piece that you were speaking about, and it's like everybody become blind to what the real facts are. When we had the SRC, that's when the schools really started going down. When they took the schools away from the public, so not really, they were sloppy then because, the thing is that the people you have in charge is the people who are the problem. If you don't get sincere people who care about educating kids. See, everybody thinks it's just black kids. No, it's all kids. Anybody who goes to a public school, the object is to keep them dumb. You know why? I keep telling them it's about contracts, jobs, and friends. Because the dumber they keep you, that means they got to hire tutors. They say you need special ed. It's always you need something. And there you have somebody to provide it. But if you're smart and you're learning and you're expiring, that don't do them no good. And this has been going on for a long
time.
It hasn't just started, but if you notice that on the school board, take the school board for instance, there are no sincere people on there.
All right, so wait a minute, George. So wait. There are 3 open slots. Why don't you apply for one of the school board slots, George?
Because it don't work that way. They pick who they want on there. You can put
but you won't know if they'll pick you if you don't apply, George.
No, they know who put it in, right? So therefore, it's not like it going a thing and just draw it out. They know. They don't even look through that. They put who they want on that board. Okay.
That is not true. I applied for the board the very first time they opened it up, and they called me in for an interview, and I sat down and I interviewed with them.
You think that was a stroke of luck or by accident? No, they knew exactly who you were. I mean, don't get so caught up in it thinking they don't know who you are. They know. They would love to have you on the board. I mean, none of them be voting with you or nothing like that. But then
and that's why I wasn't chosen, because I answered the questions, and I told them, I said, school board members are there to set policy, not to micromanage. I saw the look on 2 of the faces, and I was like, well, that was the end of that interview.
Absolutely, and they made sure that they pick you to make sure that they don't have, the backlash of what will happen. See, that's a prime example of what I'm talking about. When they, listen, if you don't have an insight or have somebody speaking up for you, you're not going to be on no board. You're not going to be on no thing making any kind of decisions because one day somebody got to call you and say, yo, we need this vote on this. We need this to be taken care of. That's the way it works. Everybody's going to act like everything is above board. Ain't nothing in this city above board. Nothing.
And it's so sad because it really is coming to forbearance. We're starting to see all the cracks in the armor. All the cracks. It's so crazy.
Absolutely.
It's so crazy.
But when you talk about it, you're wrong.
Oh,
you're not sitting up there talking about want to be righteous foolishness. Nobody want to hear facts. They don't want to hear a story. Get your grandkids or your kids and sit them on your lap or on a chair and tell them a story if you want to hear a story. The kids don't even want to hear it. But that's the way it's done. And until people like you make them do, that whole school board, they should just get rid of every last one of them. The good ones, the couple good ones is there, and put some people in there who really sincerely mean something. But they're not the problem. It's the elected officials who put them there. Every one of them have an elected official sponsor. They got a sponsor, okay? Meaning that they got a boss, meaning that boss can call them and say, we need this vote on this, okay?
But that makes, but all we get is more corruption on top of everything. So it doesn't work.
That's what it is.
And at what point?
Corruption.
And at what point do we realize that that is so counterproductive and that it doesn't just impact the poorest of the poor in this city, it impacts everyone. And when people feel like they don't have a viable way of living and thriving beyond the few who have the kinds of means to live here and stay here, then you start to lose good quality folks, right, who move to other places, so they can have a good living wage, so that they're able to buy a home, that kind of stuff. Like, at what point do we stop being so myopic in this city and start to make long-term plans that include the people that are born and raised here and wanting to stay here? At what point do we do that?
But that really doesn't matter because they send their kids to the best charter school or the best school, period. People move here have money. Remember, ain't no poor people moving here. I mean, you got to take all that in consideration. All the people who have, everybody's moving here can afford to send their kid to a real decent school.
Yes, but then their kids graduate from a real decent school, go off to college, and they don't stay here. They don't stay here.
No, the kids don't.
So it's counterproductive. At some point, the people that are living here are going to die off. And so then what do we have to offer? At what point do we get a set of leadership that says, oh my God, we are literally sinking to the place of no return. We've got to reset.
The whole object is to have Philadelphia is going to be whiter than it's ever been. That's the object.
That's exactly what's getting ready to happen.
They're going to be able to move everybody out. I say not this council race, but the next two council races, the council be white. It'll be back there when George Schwartz and all them was on there white. Mark my word. All this, see, what our problem is? We have a special group of Negroes in this city, and they know who they are because I keep saying these special groups. They know exactly who they are. They need decisions for black people and do black people no good, and they're the main ones who be talking that militant black foolishness. Watch them people who always sit around talking black this, black that. They're more whiter than any white person you know. Or any we call them antichrists for real. That's what they are. But take my word, how it plays out. It's gonna play out just like that.
Listen,
I mean, they don't care about no education.
So let me say this to you. To a certain extent, I do believe and I understand because I've been watching them too and paying attention. I'm just not as vociferous as you in my conversation.
You had a couple of those special group of Negroes on your show a couple of times. You just didn't know it. But you had a feeling that they were one of them or two of them. You just couldn't put your hands on it because they was on their best immaculate type behavior. They had their shield up. They was making sure that they didn't slip no kind of way. You knew it was something a little shady about them, but you just couldn't put your hands on it.
George, let Mama say this to you. I never miss a beat. I know how to behave and put on my manners, but I never miss a beat. Remember that, okay?
Well, you did a very good job. I must say, you did a very good job with those special Negroes. And they're hard to really detect because everybody think they so stand up and righteous. But the people who have a gift of God and that veil, they see right through them like, wow, I would never believe that this is one of these antichrists. Believe me.
You are hilarious. Have a good Thanksgiving, George. Mama loves you. Bye. Bye. You are listening to The Source, 96.1 FM, 900 AM, streaming live on WURDradio.com. Follow us on all social media platforms at onWURD. 215-634-8065 is the number to call in. I am Andrea Lawful Sanders, and we will be right back after these messages.
With Internet Essentials from Comcast for only $9.95 a month, you get more. High-speed home internet service included. Peace of mind with XFi Advanced Security included. Access to millions of XFi Wi-Fi hotspots, that's included too. Internet Essentials from Comcast brings you affordable, high-speed internet to your home for only $9.95 a month. When you're connected, you're ready for anything. Visit InternetEssentials.com for more information. Taxes extra. Restrictions apply. Do you have a K-12 student who does not have reliable internet at home? PHL Connected is here to provide
and multimedia content and resources. Stay informed with the WURD Radio newsletter. This is WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD Philadelphia. Black Talk Media.
You're listening to The Source with Andrea Lawful Sanders on WURD Radio. Streaming live on WURDRadio.com and the WURD Radio app.
Welcome back to The Source. It is now the 2 o'clock hour. Mike, I don't know how this show goes so quickly. I have my next guest on the line, but let me take Rosalind real quickly. Rosalind, are you there?
Yes, praise the Lord, my sister, my mother, and WURD family. I talked to my son the other day, and I let him know that we want to organize guys just to getting out of prison so they can learn how to read. And also, everybody that's calling in and everything and saying what we need, how we need, no, we have to come to the table together. Just like we went out there and vote, now we can sit down at the table and educate ourselves and our communities with people all across the world, right here in Philadelphia. Snatch our children out from houses and from killing one another and everything, and educate them, especially the ones 21 and over. I gave the person that took the phone call my son's number. This is making me nervous. We can't talk about it. We got to be about it. It's like you went and did all them votes. Now we got to educate our people.
Yes, agreed.
We have to do it now. Don't talk about it.
Well, so guess what? Our next guest is about to tell you a little bit about that piece. So thank you so much, Rosalind.
But my son had the building, and I gave him the telephone number. So whoever you want to organize, Woody or whatever, teachers or whatever is in the prison, let's get this started right now.
Yes, ma'am.
Please, Mother. I love y'all. Happy holidays to everyone.
Happy holidays.
And please be safe.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Bye-bye. I have to figure out a way to connect Rosalind with anybody who wants to be able to volunteer their time to teach people how to read. She has the building, she says, so let's figure out a way to make this work and just stop talking about it. We'll figure it out, though, Rosalind. Just hold on. Give Mother a second. Kendra Van De Water, LSW, co-founder of the Youth Empowerment for Advancement Hangout, otherwise known as YAY. YAY is a Black-led, community-based nonprofit that works with teens in Philadelphia ages 13 to 19 who have witnessed or engaged in violence, with a special focus on those who have violent histories in West and Southwest neighborhoods. YAY acknowledges teens as the experts of their own lives and prioritizes pushing back against oppressive systems and addressing structural barriers that often lead to violence. Good afternoon, Kendra Van De Water. How are you?
How are you?
I am so good. I needed to talk to you because there's so much going on in this city. I don't know where to start.
There really is. There really is. Thank you for having me.
Oh, you're quite welcome. So, tell me, you were founded in 2018, you and James I, right?
Yes.
Understanding the correlation between poverty, opportunity, and violence. You provide services to address short and long-term needs. So let's talk about why you came about and, what have you been able to accomplish since you began in 2018?
Definitely. So we formed, we're pretty new, so we formed because, the violence in the city is getting worse, especially among our younger age people. But also we knew, like, from our work and our experience that when we were in meetings and in different rooms, a lot of people talk about young people and the young people are never there. Right. So James and I came together and, started surveying young people, walking around the neighborhood, talking to people shooting dice about what they like to do, what they do after school, and just getting the information from them so we could take back and say, this is what young people need, and how can we help young people get what they need.
Right. And so what have you been able to do since you began in 2018?
So since 2018, we've grown well beyond our capacity. We've engaged almost 300 young people, whether it's been we've trained them in peer mediation and conflict resolution. We do teen and police curriculum groups. We focus on what we call hangout spaces where we run groups, but it's a space for Black kids to be themselves and express themselves in ways that oftentimes they're not able to do among adults. We have a teen-led food bank, and then most recently, we are under contract and we close on our own building next week. Yes, so we're doing a lot of things that are helping young people build their confidence, but also identify things in terms of what they need and helping them achieve the goals that they identify they need in their lives.
Right. So you're working with teens 13 to 19. How can a parent reach out to you if they want to get a teen who was engaged or witnessed violence? I mean, just the other day, a 12-year-old was shot in the head right in his doorway.
I
right?
know.
Our children are becoming so numb. I don't want to say desensitized. I want to say that they're becoming so numb to the harsh realities that are standing up in front of them every single day. So how can a family member reach out to you to get their child engaged in your program?
A family member or a young person, they can go to our website, yeahphilly.org, YEAH Philly.org. You can submit a referral through that website. You can send us a message through the website. Our cell numbers, James and I put our cell numbers on anything. We can be called, and we can also be reached through Instagram and other social media avenues. Most young people reach out to us through Instagram.
So it's the young people that are reaching out to you, not the parents?
Yeah, it's mostly young people. Some parents do, and most parents will send emails or call us, but young people are the ones who are reaching out the most.
Yeah. What inspired you to do this?
So what inspired me was that when I was a teenager and, even as an adult, a lot of people, you feel like you're not listened to, but I had a poor interaction with police officers when I was a teenager, ended up in the juvenile detention center. And so when I had that experience, it was more so, my community and my people need a lot of advocacy and need a lot of support. So what does it look like for us to support and really invest in our communities in a way that we talk about, but not that many people do? And so this all stemmed from my personal experiences with the criminal justice system, my personal experiences with violence, with my family, and the things that I've gone through as a young person, and the supports that I know I needed when I was younger and I didn't have.
And you didn't get it. Yes, that is my concern. And you can almost see the vacancy between their eyes when you're talking to some of the young people, right?
Yes.
It's so difficult. What is your ultimate goal for YEA?
My ultimate goal is that we're able to make sure that young people get whatever they need, that our communities are places that we can have our own things and we don't have to go outside of them to get what we need. But the most important thing is that we're giving young people the tools to be able to resolve their own conflicts, whether it's within themselves or within their neighborhoods, because we talk a lot about violence as if it comes from nowhere. And that's not really the case. So we're teaching young people how to manage their emotions, how to communicate better, how to build your confidence so that you're able to stick up for yourself and that you're able to resolve things with your peers. So that's our vision for YEA. We're hoping to be across the city, and we're hoping that young people, they're able to get the lives that they want, but also that they deserve, because right now they are not getting that.
Yeah, today is the 6th anniversary of the time when the grand jury indictment, they failed to indict the police officers that shot Mike Brown in Ferguson, Missouri. He was 16 at the time, 17, somewhere in there. And I remember that day vividly. I spoke about it on my social media page this morning because something inside of me, I felt like something inside of me broke. Like some electronic cord that was holding a piece of my soul together broke that day, right? Because when I got on social media, Kendra, there were all sorts of folks on there talking about, well, he should have listened to the police officer and why was he running and all this other stuff, right? Between him and Trayvon Martin, whose father I ended up meeting some years later, it just feels like our children, our young people are not given, the grace and the space to make mistakes, right? right? The slightest mistakes our young people make, they end up in the system. And I also noticed that too many adults are too easily swayed into believing the worst of our children, black and white, right? That bothers me quite a bit. And here we are, it's 2020, 6 years later, and the country is still in a turmoil because our children specifically, when you look at the people who are in uprisings that are walking and chanting, it's our young people, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, who say that they're tired of not being heard. So I'm loving the fact that you are teaching them how to manage emotions and communicate in a way where they can get their voices heard. But I also, when you do that, you now give them the skills that they need to create the changes on their own without depending on anybody, right?
Yes.
Because too many adults see them as data. Too many adults see them as, well, come on into my nonprofit organization and I'll write a grant so that I can serve you. And too much of that money goes into the hands of the people that are running those nonprofits and not for the children's needs themselves. Right?
Absolutely.
Hunger is huge. We need to have more black-led nonprofits. I can't say it enough, right? Black-led nonprofits where you can see that they're doing the work, so that the children will trust and openly walk into these spaces where they don't feel like someone is patting them on the head and saying, well, you came from a disenfranchised home and look what I did to help you. That bothers the hell out of me, right?
Absolutely. And we see that, a lot of programs, they can be overly structured, or even just on the basis of, young people can't wear their hoods when they go in places. They're too loud, they're too this and too that. So we don't allow, especially young black people, we don't allow them to be kids. And that's what they are. They're kids. And they are allowed to have feelings. They are allowed to be upset about things. And they are allowed to advocate for themselves. So, and even back to the police shootings, there are people every day who do things that the police say, and it doesn't matter. So when people say, oh, why did he run, or why didn't he just comply? We see that even when people comply, the result can be the same. So we really have to check ourselves about, how we talk about people and how we say things. And really it comes down to our own biases, and it comes down to how we're doing the work and how we're serving people that we say we're supposed to be serving, and we have to acknowledge them as the experts.
I absolutely agree. Turn your radio down a little bit. We're hearing an echo behind you. I just want to make sure that we can't get good. Okay. The biases that we carry to the table as adults have been impactful for children, for young people. When you talk to the teens that you have access to in your program, what are some of the key things that they would like us adults to know in working with them? What are some of the key takeaways that you've gotten?
So the main thing is usually that they feel that older people and adults are always saying, back when I was your age, or, when I was younger, this is how it was. So we always tell people it's different. Like, yes, we all grew up. We're all adults now. We were all kids at one time, but things are very different now, and we have to acknowledge that difference. And it can't always be preaching. It can't always be telling young people that they don't listen. Those are the main things that we hear. Young people always say, nobody listens to us. Nobody listens to us, and we need to be heard. And so that a lot of times has them shut down. And so instead of preaching at them or talking at them, there really has to be opportunities for conversations between the generations, because as we see, there's also a generational gap.
Right. Oh, my gosh. So opportunities to have conversations between the gap, between the generations. Oh.
And adults need to open up their spaces, and sometimes it may not be helping them in a way that we see fit, but it's supporting them in a way that they may need in that moment. Absolutely.
It so reminds me of a young man that I had gone to some meeting in North Philly, and met a young man who was just sitting in at the table, just looking just like he was like, I don't even know why I'm here. Turns out he was from the community, and he said we were sitting in a church, and he said to them, listen, I've been coming, I live in this community. All kinds of things are going on here. We need mental health. We need all kinds of support. And the people at the church said to him, well, are you a member here? Lord have mercy. And the vacancy that came between his eyes when they said that to him, like, well, you know, we can only offer you services if you're a member of our church. And we have to be very, very careful. Give me your tired, give me your poor, give me your brokenhearted. They shouldn't always have to be the ones coming in and paying tithes, right? If they live in your community and they need help, you have to open the doors for them. And so I invited him to have Sunday dinner at my house one Sunday. And he was like, huh? You what? And he came to the house and sat and had dinner. And at the end of the night, I said, well, the youngest people in here are going to wash dishes, right? So he was in the kitchen with two other young men about his age, and they were washing the dishes. He pulls me aside towards the end of the night as he's taking up the trash, and he says, you just reminded me of what is possible when we all can see. He said, I haven't done this. I can't tell you the last time I've done this. I didn't even know what it was like to sit at a dinner table and laugh and talk and nobody's judging you, right? And he said, at first he was uncomfortable because he was like, this is so surreal. And then he realized nobody was judging him. Nobody gave a ratatouille. It was just sit and eat a meal and be okay. And, you know, if more of us could just find the ways. And so he kept coming back. He kept coming back and opening up and telling us, I'm hearing the echo again, and telling us, you know, sharing parts of his life that he wouldn't ordinarily share if we didn't treat him as if he was a part of us and not somebody we should just look down on. And this is why I'm saying, Kendra, the lens we look from is very, very important. Very important. If we're only inviting people to sit at our table because, you know, they have a certain amount of degrees or they drive a certain kind of car or they speak a certain kind of way, then we have biases, right? We do. We absolutely do. So I can't thank you enough for thinking about what to do for these young people and helping them. I applaud you for that. I absolutely applaud you for that. Are you a nonprofit yet?
We are a nonprofit, yes.
Yes. Yes. So there's a couple of people that I'd like to send your way who are in the nonprofit space that can send funding to see if we can help you to help these young children and keep collecting your data, right? Keep collecting your data about what works for these young people so we can continue to help them because Lord knows we've got to do better.
Yes,
what
and
advice
we talk
do you
a
have
lot about evidence-based practices?
Yes.
And so what we try to do is we're creating evidence-based practices for Black communities. And so, you know, we talk a lot about that, and sometimes they're often, you know, harmful still. Yes. And so we have to think about how we talk about what really works and who it really works for.
Absolutely. Absolutely. What advice do you have for those of us in the community that, you know, need to do better with our young people? Whether they belong to us, whether we gave birth to them, or they live in our community. What advice would you have for us on how we manage and work with young people?
I think a lot of times we are, you know, it's often, if it's not our family, it's not our problem. And then another problem is that I see is that I hear a lot of adults talk about how scared they are of the young people in our neighborhoods and our communities. So I really stress the importance of whether it's, you know, be a mentor, you know, talk to your neighbors, get to know the young people who living on your block and start listening, start having conversations even at the most basic level. In your household, start listening to your kids. You know, it's not always, oh, I don't have time for this. And we understand people are working a lot. You know, there's a lot of trauma in our neighborhoods, but oftentimes just a simple listening to what people have to say is a big deal.
Yes, agreed. Kendra Van de Water, again, let people know how they can reach you if they need to.
Yes, we can be reached online. Our website is yeahphilly.org, YEAH Philly.org. We can be contacted by cell phone. Our numbers are on our website. We can be contacted through social media at yeahphilly. On Monday, we close on a building that we are going to own. People, the community foundations have been stepping up and supporting our work, and I like to talk about how we say oftentimes kids need safe places to go. Kids need productive things to do. We are investing in our community, and this is a big deal for us. So if anybody wants to contact us, wants to support our efforts to purchase and renovate this building, those are all the ways that we can be contacted.
Right, and if someone wants to donate their art skills, their artwork, put maybe some murals on the wall. There's a couple of people that I'm thinking of. Yes, this is how we create the spaces and the village to help to get the place to where it needs to be. This is awesome. I'm super proud of you. Super proud of you. Thank you so much, and we'll catch up soon, okay?
Yes, thank you. Have a wonderful rest of the day.
You too. All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Wow, that was good. I'm loving these conversations. All right, y'all. For those of you who called in, I have a few minutes that I can talk. Miss Mary, call back real quickly. Some of us can talk to you. I'll do some news in the meantime. All right, let's see. The General Services Administration has ascertained that President-elect Joe Biden is the apparent winner, as if we didn't know, some 15, 20 days later. NBC10Philadelphia.com says that the General Services Administration, here we go. Wait a minute. Wait. Gotta stop that. This is why I don't like to go on the website, because there's always some noise going on here. The General Services Administration, otherwise known as the GSA, for those of you who are not aware and think that it's just some random name, ascertained Monday that President-elect Joe Biden is the apparent winner of the November 3rd election, clearing the way for the start of the transition from President Donald Trump's administration and allowing Biden to coordinate with federal agencies on plans for taking over on January 20th. Trump, who still refuses to concede the election, said in a tweet that he is directing his team to cooperate on the transition, but is vowing to keep up the fight. All right. Administrator Emily Murphy made the determination after Trump efforts to subvert the vote failed across battleground states, citing recent developments involving legal challenges and certifications of election results. Michigan certified Biden's victory Monday, and a federal judge in Pennsylvania tossed a Trump campaign lawsuit on Saturday, seeking to prevent certification in that state, and Pennsylvania certified theirs today. So that was good. Murphy, a Trump appointee, has faced bipartisan criticism for failing to begin the transition process sooner, preventing Biden's team from working with career agency officials on plans for his administration, including in critical national security and public health areas. No, she did not. Please know that I came to my decision independently based on the law and available facts, she says. I was never directly or indirectly pressured by any executive branch official, including those who work at the White House or the GSA, with regard to the substance or timing of my decision, Murphy wrote in a letter to Biden. Trump tweeted shortly after her letter was made public, "We will keep up the good fight, and I believe we will prevail. Nevertheless, in the best interest of our country, I am recommending that Emily and her team do what needs to be done with regard to initial protocols and have told my team to do the same." I cannot. When I tell you this is the best Grace Pretender I've ever seen in my life, oh, greatest pretender. Miss Mary, how are you?
I'm fine. Oh, good afternoon, Andrea.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
You know, I hope when I heard George saying that the white people are moving into the city and they have money to put their children in private schools, I hope they're also paying the taxes because, you know, in the Philadelphia Inquirer today, they said that the city got little money in reserve. We only have $22.9 million cushion. You know, and we're looking at a major shortfall behind this pandemic, and we're giving people tax abatements. These are the people, the white people that are moving into the city. They're not paying the same taxes that we're paying, but yet when the rubber meets the road, everybody is going to be in a dire situation. You're not going to have money to purchase food for the people that are in need. You know, and exactly when are we going to start doing the right thing in this city? Because we have these politicians in place that are basically, I don't know if they're just giving away our money because there's no receiving it back. When we find out that we have been defrauded out of different departments, different people, different agencies, they never collect the money back. Because I had asked Mayor Kenny about the $150 million lawsuit that Mayor had filed in behalf of the city of Philadelphia. He acted like he didn't know anything about it regarding Sheriff Green. When Sheriff Green ripped people in Philadelphia for decades out of their property, He sold their properties as the sheriff, never gave them back the revenue. And we're going to head to that same situation again behind this pandemic. Because they're asking now that you have to pay for your additional medical costs. I heard where Trump said that if you approve for any of these vaccines, or if you're given an IV in the hospital as a treatment, that you're going to have to pay for the lines that they put in you, for the IVs and everything. And if you look on the court dockets, everything is basically from these hospitals in Philadelphia, Einstein, Jefferson, where they took the average people, Temple. This is how they have all these properties surrounding them, because they take the average person to court and they put a lien on their property. They sell off your liens, which that is, from years ago, that was totally illegal to do so. But they'll sell the lien off if you have a family member still living there. So this is what you're facing. So whoever these people, these white people are, they need to start paying taxes. Undocumented people, they have to start paying taxes, because we're in this together. And we need for the Democratic Party to do more in regard to President Trump. Because he's going around targeting these black cities and where he's charging fraud regarding the election process. This is the fraud when he entered in the White House. And also a lot of these senators that running for re-election, like Purdue and Lafleur, I think that's her name. I mean, they were charged with insider trading. Martha Stewart went to jail for that, but yet this man is running against these senators, these people in Georgia, to get their seat back again. No, it's a federal law in place. Once you're charged with a federal crime or prosecuted, you cannot run for an elected office. So the Democratic Party needs to start adhering to those laws, prosecute these people, and they should not be running in Georgia, Purdue, and the woman Locklear because of their recent charge for insider trading.
All right, Miss Mary, I got to take a break. I'm 2 minutes over, but I love talking to you. You have a good holiday, okay?
You too. Bye-bye.
All right, bye-bye. You are listening to The Source, 96.1 FM, 900 AM, streaming live on WURDradio.com. Follow us on all social media platforms at onWURD. 215-634-8065 is the number to call in. I am Andrea Lawful Sanders, and we will be right back after these messages.
Man, this coronavirus has us all moving differently.
No doubt. Like washing our hands more and social distancing with the crew. I'm always telling people to give me 6 feet. We're here, Grandmom.
There's my babies. Good to see you got your mask on.
Wear a mask. Stop the spread. For more information, visit www.pa.gov/COVID.
Paid for with Pennsylvania taxpayer dollars.
He's back.
This is Reverend Al Sharpton.
Keeping it real with the Reverend Al Sharpton.
In times like these, we have to stay connected.
At a brand new time.
Monday through Thursday, 9 p.m. till midnight.
I'm excited that Keeping It Real returns to WURD.
Keeping it real.
With the Reverend Al Sharpton.
Monday through Thursday, 9 p.m. till midnight.
This program is pre-recorded.
No phone calls, please.
Keep it locked to WURD 96.1 FM, 900 AM.
WURDradio.com.
Monday through Thursday, keep it locked to WURD Radio. At 6 a.m., start your day with the Power Hour, hosted by Bishop Dwayne Royster and Reverend Mark Kelly Tyler. At 7, it's Wake Up with Word with Solomon Jones. At 10 a.m., it's Reality Check with Charles Ellison. Then at 1 p.m., it's The Source, hosted by Andrea Lawful Sanders on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays, and the Black Women's Leadership Council on Wednesdays. At 4 p.m., it's Evening Words with Nick Taliaferro. Then at 7, it's Save Space with Sincerely Sarita. At 9 p.m., round up your day with Keeping It Real with the Reverend Al Sharpton. Keep your dial locked to WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD. Streaming live on WURDradio.com and the WURD Radio app. Or watch live on WURD TV via Facebook and YouTube. WURD Radio. Independent Black Media.
You're listening to The Source with Andrea Lawful Sanders on WURD Radio. Streaming live on WURDradio.com and the WURD Radio app.
Welcome back to The Source. It gives me great pleasure to talk to our next guest. Lord, I'm loving these guests. You know, they all kind of fall in line with the conversations that I'm having every single day. The goal is not to get on the air and to spew information, but to really find tangible solutions for the people who are listening every single day. Oh, my watch just buzzed on my hand. I made all my steps today. Dr. Ayo, Maria Casey Gooden, is a licensed psychologist and a board-certified African-centered Black psychologist, diplomat, and fellow. She earned her BA in psychology from Lincoln University in Pennsylvania and her MA and PhD in clinical psychology from the University of Cincinnati. Dr. Ayo Maria Casey Gooden focuses on wellness instead of illness in her practice. She values the specific cultural and ethnic background of individuals and incorporates this information into her therapy and counseling. She's on today to discuss the Bond Hill Scholarship at Lincoln and Cheney Universities. Good afternoon, Dr. Ayo. How are you?
I am super great. Thank you so very much for that wonderful introduction and greetings to your listening audience.
Oh, you're so welcome. I can't wait to talk to you. Let's talk first about the Bond Hill Scholarship at Lincoln. There's an echo behind you, so if you have something on, can you turn it down for me, please?
I do. Let me see. I shouldn't have anything on, but let me double check.
All right,
I will do that.
Yes, because I can hear it. There's quite an echo back there.
Okay, I'm going to eliminate it altogether. That should do it.
Okay.
Is it gone?
Almost.
I
We're still
turned
a
off
little bit, but
the
let's just
radio
keep talking.
from my computer, so I don't know.
Okay. So one of them is giving you feedback, and that's okay. Let's just talk, because I'm so excited to have a conversation with you. The Bond Hill Scholarship at Lincoln and Cheney Universities. Let's talk about that first, and then I'm going to go back into the mental health and well-being of Black folks.
Great.
Tell me about the Bond Hill Scholarship, please.
Well, Lincoln University and Cheney University have a scholarship called the Bond Hill Scholarship, which is named after the first Black presidents of Lincoln University, and that was Horace Mann Bond, and for Cheney University, Leslie Pinckney Hill. And it's a scholarship designed for people who are Pennsylvania residents and who attend Lincoln or Cheney. And if you maintain a B average or higher, you can go to law school, dental school, medical school, science program, education programs, and other programs free at Pitt, Penn, Temple, or Drexel.
What?
How about that? A little known benefit. And so for students who are struggling with having to pay those expensive bills to go to medical school or law school, that would be totally eliminated. All you have to do is pass the entrance exam at Pitt, Penn, Temple, or Drexel, and then you have a free ride.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah. Unbelievable, right? I wish they had it when I was in school.
Oh, I know. Drexel, how long has it been around?
It's been around for probably close to, I'm going to say 15 to 20 years at this point.
You better. No way.
Yes, yes. And it was created because there's a lack of blacks in a number of fields. Actually, all fields really are underserved by blacks. And part of what we're understanding, we always knew it, but what people have come to understand is that Having a black professional is critical for black people. It gives you a sense of confidence. It gives you somebody who understands your culture. It helps you to succeed. And, you know, certainly in the field of psychology, as the president of the Delaware Valley Association of Black Psychologists, I always tell people that if you're going to get therapy, you get therapy from someone who has the same cultural background, because we understand what you're going through. We understand racism. Caucasians don't get it.
Right. Dr. Ayo, so let me I have gotten 4 texts now, just in that short time that you've been talking to me, that wants to know, is that just for that scholarship just for former students or new students? Can it be former students or just new students, or do you have to be a certain age to apply for the scholarship if they go back to school?
It's not age specific, but they do have a time limit. And what they can do is call Lincoln and Cheney and ask about the scholarship, the Bond Hill Scholarship. Now, if you're a current student at Lincoln, you have to maintain a B average. If you had a B average and nobody told you about the scholarship, but you're eligible, contact them.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow. And let's say someone is a former student and want to go back, can they go back to school and maintain this B average and apply for this scholarship?
When you say go back, you mean go back and get another degree?
Lincoln or Cheney, yes.
If they already have a degree?
Yes.
No, that's a good question. That would be a question I cannot answer. They'll have to ask Lincoln or Cheney that question.
I have to tell you this. My husband is texting me, Dr. Ayo, and he said, I had a B average. He went to Cheney, graduated early, and got, I think, 2 or 3 masters at the same time from George Washington University. So it would have been great. He was like, I'm going back to school. I'm like, no, you're going to leave that for somebody else.
I think it's a really good question, and I think people need to press the issue, because I know that not enough people have used that scholarship.
Yes. And so my technical producer, Mike, said, he said he graduated from Cheney summa cum laude, and he'd love to go to law school for free. That would be that's the guy that's producing my show right now.
Yes. Well, see, those people who I advised, I used to be a professor at Cheney as well. I told them about the scholarship. Now, I can't say what other advisors did or did not do, but I certainly promoted it. I taught people about it. I made it part of the classroom experience, in fact, because paying off these bills is something that, you know, some of us were doing when we were retiring, still paying off school bills. And this is a way to be debt-free.
Wow. And I know a police officer who just got her master's at Lincoln and was got high awards and want to go to law school, and money stopped her. She would have absolutely been able to go into this program.
No, actually, it's not the master's level. It's your bachelor's degree. Yes, I should have made that clear. Right, I forgot about the master's program at those schools. But yes, it's for people who get their undergraduate degree at Lincoln or Cheney with a B average, and you have to be a Pennsylvania resident. So you could, you know, you can't say, well, I've lived here now for 2 years, so now I'm a resident. You had to start off, and they usually look at what high school did you go to. If you didn't go to a Pennsylvania high school, you weren't a Pennsylvania resident.
Oh. That kind of limits a lot of people who moved in after they finished high school and went to college there?
Yeah, possibly. But once again, I pressed Lincoln or Cheney about that, because if you're actually a resident of the state of Pennsylvania, that should qualify you. But understand that part of the purpose of the scholarship is also to keep people from Pennsylvania using their talents in Pennsylvania versus people moving in here, getting this degree, and then leaving and taking that somewhere else to another state.
Got it. Got it.
So that's
totally
the purpose.
got it. That makes sense. That makes sense. Okay. All right. So how long have you been a Lord? So are you provide that?
I've never been a Lord. Okay. But anyway.
Dr. Aya, so much is going on in the country. I don't even know where to start. And we have people who call into this radio station saying they need help, or their grandson needs help, or their daughter and son needs help.
Right.
You know, is there a special group of African-American doctors with your group that we can send people to?
Yeah.
I think one called in last week and spoke to me.
Yes. We, the Delaware Valley Association of Black Psychologists, we have a very special program thanks to some of our wonderful members. Judy Henderson is the CEO of Empowerment Resource Associates. That is a Black-owned mental health clinic that has all the services you could need, from psychiatrists, psychologists, social workers, alcohol and drug, and even free gambling therapy. So if you have a gambling problem, free services for that. We also have an 8-session free therapy opportunity for people who need services through, once again, Ms. Judy Henderson, her connections, and for people who want to access that information, they can contact us at, probably easier on the phone number, but think of the Delaware Valley Association of Black Psychologists, and our phone number is 267-282-1062. Once again, that number is 267-282-1062.
1062.
Right, so you can call, or our Gmail account is DV as in Valley, A as in Association, B as in Black, P as in Psychologist, DVABP, SI, S as in Success, I as in Intelligent, org as in Organization, ORG, at gmail.com. Right.
Thank you so much. I
Absolutely. We've got some free services for people, and they're culturally specific services, which makes a difference.
Yes, and with so many people not so bereft, losing their jobs, not knowing what's coming up next for them, what's happening in the country, the anxiety, the trauma from COVID, all of that makes all the difference in the world.
Yes, it does.
The holidays are around the corner. Give me 1 or 2 things that people can do who wouldn't have a family member, you know, to help them, or a person has passed away and it's just them alone. Give us 1 or 2 tips that people can do to help others and for those people to help themselves.
Well, I would like to recommend that people celebrate Umoja Karamu, which means a unity feast. And you can do that alone. You can do that on Zoom. And that is a gathering in of your family or your friends on Zoom and eating and talking about what you're going to do differently, how you're going to work together. Because I don't really recommend Thanksgiving because, of course, Thanksgiving is that day when Caucasians gave thanks for delivering this homeland from the heathen savages after they massacred them. So we need to know the truth about some of these holidays. So instead of celebrating the holidays of our oppressors, we have to start embracing our own culture and creating those kinds of activities that embrace our people, that embrace ourselves, because guess what? Even alone, you are beautiful, you're powerful, you're strong, and it gives you an opportunity to really assess who you are and what you want to do with your life. And so it's how you look at the time that you have. And even if you can't be physically with a loved one, you're with a loved one all the time. You.
Mojo, say that again. Mojo Karamu?
It's Umoja.
Umoja.
And I'll send you the paperwork on my holiday sheet.
Okay.
J-A, it's U-M-O-J-A. Umoja. It's the first principle in Kwanzaa is okay. Umoja, unity is the idea, and then Karamu, K-A-R-A-M-U, Karamu.
Gosh, I spelled it both right. Look at me.
Good. I'm impressed.
Unity feast.
But I couldn't expect anything less from you.
So guess what I'm celebrating on Thursday? Umoja Karamu with my sons. I'm going to be calling them.
And it can be on Wednesday. It could be on Saturday.
Yes.
Friday. You pick the day. Take control over your life. Don't let somebody else tell you it has to be Thursday.
I love you. Yes. This is the kind of stuff that I'm talking about. Dr. Ayo, thank you so much for calling into The Source. It was a pleasure talking to you. I think I'd like to continue having conversations with you here and then. Some of the other black psychologists. Let's get our community really engaged in the process of thinking about going to therapy, and that it's not one of those things that you just go because someone forces you to do it. Thank you so much.
And always go because you want to grow and you want to experience the best of you. And that's what you do when you go to therapy. It takes courage to go to therapy and insight. And people who love themselves want to be the very best that they can be. And let me just tell you that on December the 15th, we will be doing a mbongi on Kwanzaa, pre-Kwanzaa, so that people can learn the principles that they can use to be successful, not just during the holidays, but every day of the year.
Oh, Dr. Ayo, it was such a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me again.
Oh, you're so welcome. Talk
right.
to you soon. Bye-bye.
Hotep.
Oh, that was a good conversation. That was so good. I like those guys. Thank you, Brianna. Thank you, all of you who are sending these amazing guests my way. You are listening to The Source, 96.1 FM, 900 AM, streaming live on WURDradio.com. Follow us on all social media platforms at onWURD. 215-634-8065 is the number to call in. We will be right back after these messages.
Millennials make up the largest share of the U.S. population. They are known for being tech-savvy, practicing mindfulness, and being socially and ethically conscious. But they are also on track to be in worse health than previous generations. Pitch your best ideas, Philly. You have the power to help shape how we address millennial health and mental health.
This is not a fad for us.
We will not resume our regular programming when things die down. We're not black to help our bottom line or because it's politically correct. We're not joining a fight. This has been our fight, our message, our people. Black lives have always mattered here. We are
undeniably,
indefatigably, unapologetically, permanently Black Talk Media.
WURD.
WURD Radio presents the following wellness tip to support our listeners with mindfulness and motivation
as we continue to navigate the pandemic together.
Hi, this is Helana, your resident health and wellness coach, with tips to help you stay well. Many of us have heard this term before, but may not know what it really means. Compassionate living brings mindfulness and peace to the center of your daily life. Compassionate living can look like this. Number 1, be gentle with yourself and those around you. Number 2, choose to speak kindly to others, even when you're upset. Number 3, become a good listener and practice empathy at home and at work. We sometimes think in order to live with compassion, we have to become someone else. Not so. In fact, allowing peacefulness to be at the center of our daily interactions is something we can practice every day. Go ahead and try it today. Stay well with WURD. Happy living.
Stay well with WURD. Connect with us at WURDradio.com.
You're listening to The Source with Andrea Lawful Sanders on WURD Radio. Streaming live on WURDradio.com and the WURD Radio app.
Welcome back to The Source. If you're just joining us, we had two wonderful guests. Kendra Van de Water, who is the co-founder of the Youth Empowerment for Advanced Hangout called YAY. Great conversation. They're purchasing their own building, and they will be in it starting Monday. She talks about what's going on with teens, she acknowledges YAY acknowledges that teens are the experts of their own lives and prioritizes pushing back against oppressive systems and addressing structural barriers that often lead to violence. They have a special focus on teens aged 13 to 19 who have witnessed or engaged in violence. And then we had Dr. Ayo, Maria Gooden, who is a licensed psychologist and board-certified action-centered Black psychologist, diplomat, and fellow. And she was on to talk about something that had everybody texting me, the Bond Hill Scholarship at Lincoln and Cheney Universities. You have to be an undergraduate working on your bachelor's, maintain a B average, and you can go to, let me just make sure I write this down. I did write it down. You can go for free to Penn. Let me just make sure I got this right. Pitt, University of Pittsburgh, Penn, University of Pennsylvania, Drexel, or Temple, absolutely free for anything that you want to pursue after that. So that's law degree, wherever you want to go. Can you imagine? So for someone who is at school right now at Cheney or Lincoln, and you have an undergraduate and working on your undergraduate, and you are maintaining a B average, go march right into your the office of the person that works with you and tell them you want to learn about the Bond Hill Scholarship at Lincoln or at Cheney. Just wonderful. I'm so excited about all of this. Dr. Ayo also talked about Umoja Karamu. My husband just texted me and said that is what we're celebrating from now on, which we do. A unity feast. We were doing it every single Sunday. The islander in me, the Jamaicans, we don't celebrate Thanksgiving for the very reasons that Dr. Ayo spoke about. But here in America, you all talk about Thanksgiving all the time and about these turkeys, right? So from now on, for me, it's going to be Umoja Karamu. I love that, the unity feast. And you don't have to do it on Thanksgiving Day, on the day that we call Thanksgiving Day. We literally can do it at any time, pulling people together in our families. I love it. I love it. I love it. So I have time to take a few calls, and if you want to call me, do it now. 267. Did I say 267? 215-634-8065. 215-634-8065 before I have my next guest on at 3 o'clock. Please call in now if you'd like to talk to. Oh, well, there we go. Dr. Eugene.
I am back, sister.
Yes,
and
sir.
yeah, we're hanging in there. You know,
Yes.
when we left, we were talking about reading, and we were talking about Dexter Manley. You know, years ago when Dexter Manley played for the Washington football team, he was involved in some work we were doing with people, life management skills. He volunteered, and we thought that he was just great, only to find out later on in a news article that Dexter Manley could not read, graduated from Oklahoma University and could not read, but he was very, very forceful, very, very aggressive, very, very knowledgeable, and everybody liked him. And so I have a picture hanging in my house of Dexter Manley and me working together to help the people in the community. But the reading thing, as you know, is very, very important to me. And the barber gave out some information. He gave out his number. I heard him call me the lift every voice and sing man.
Sing that.
and I laughed.
Do you have his number? Because I have it written down here for you.
Yeah, I laughed because I want him to know that I'm more than lift every voice and sing. Before I got involved in lift every voice and sing, I did so many things.
Yes.
You know, like you already know, I was a professor at Howard University and wrote books and just did a lot of things. And so now that I'm in my old age, I'm really kicking it out there now. I never really tried to sell those books or anything like that, but I am now because my granddaughter is in college.
Do you have Woody's phone number?
But there's one thing that I want to say about reading. You know, this is the story. Christmas is coming soon, and we are going to be giving gifts to our young people. And whether it's a book by Ezra Jack Keats, or whether it's a book about Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., or whatever, we need to be giving our young boys and girls books. We may give them one or two toys. You know, they're locked in or locked out like I am locked in. And they need to read because, you know, reading is fundamental, is it not? And so all that I'm saying to all the people who are listening, to the grandmothers and the mothers, get the kids books. You can, you know, whatever they are. I've written many. Other people have written many. Let's put them in their hands and sit down with them and read, because that's so very, very important. What do you think?
I agree. That's how I learned. I was reading fluently at the age of 3, could read anything at the age of 3. And it's what taught me how to be a critical thinker. It has taught me how to read something and not just read the words that are on the page, but to look at it and say, what did the author mean when they wrote this? What were the inferences that were made?
Yes,
And so all those things carried me to the place where I am today, where I can have conversations with people all around the world, because I've learned how to do it in a way that will get my voice heard, right?
Yes.
One of the things that when we talk about teaching children how to read, it is not okay to just teach them how to read, but we have to teach them how to read between the lines, read where the inferences are, teach them how to respond in ways that will get them where they need to be in life. So I think that's what's missing. We're teaching we want children to read and to learn how to read the words that are on the page, but we're missing the emotional and critical thinking phases and parts of reading that is so crucial to life, just crucial to life.
Yes. You know, this reading thing is very important to me, and and the other part of the conversation, I told you what happened to my son. When he went to that school and touched the Ezra Jack, keep the books on the wall, and the principal said, "Don't you ever do that, young man." It was a white man. And I said, "We're going to take him out of that school." We took him out of that school. We put him in another school. We had to end up putting him in private school. He left there, went on, and got his degree from Emory University. And now he decided he wanted to be in education like his mother and father.
Right.
So what is he doing? He's a principal of a school in Cumberland, Virginia, 51 years old, after having all kinds of experiences, good and bad experiences growing up. But we have to encourage. And, my wife and I were good role models for them. He always saw us reading books, and he always asked questions. I'll never forget the time that I came home one day from lunch, and there he was with his mother talking about Watergate. And he was a little kid there, like you. He learned to read when he was 3 years old. He's not reading as much now as I'd like him to read, but that's none of my business, his wife's business, But we need to put those kinds of examples before our kids. And so that Christmas is coming on. If I can say anything that's going to benefit my people, buy your kids books.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Eugene. I appreciate it. I got to take another call.
Yes, ma'am.
But you have a good holiday, okay? I'm not even going to say Thanksgiving.
Tell the barber that my number is, if he wants to get in touch with me, because I didn't get his number.
I got it for you. I told you I had it for you. You didn't hear me. I was trying to tell you, and you didn't. Hold on. I have it right here for you. I wrote it down. Get a pen and paper, please. You ready?
Yes.
15. 879.
879.
9935.
Thank you.
Oh, you're quite welcome. Happy holidays to you, sir. All right. Bye-bye. I think you better call Tyrone. Call him. Hi, Tyrone.
Hello, mothers.
How are you, darling?
I am in let me say, rare form. I just thank God that WURD is alive and well and keep giving out positive information in addition to the negative, but there's a lot of positiveness that comes from the station. And peace and blessings to you, and much love to my WURD family. Mother, 3 things. One, my great-grand received a book bag with all of the pencil, paper, everything, and a lot of books. And she's 12 years old. And she said, "Look at all these books. Grandpa, please tell Reverend Joe Williams thank you. Because I need books." And, just to keep hearing Dr. Williams, talk about books and reading, and this was just yesterday. And she was so excited to get all those books. And it kind of, threw me a little bit because you don't really see children with books anymore.
Yes.
So that was an eye-opening for
Yes,
me.
and books open up the gateway to your curiosity too, Tyrone. I got to take a break because it's 2:55, but you know what time to call, Tyrone. You can't call 2 minutes before I got to go to break. What you doing?
Well, I can hold on because I do have something I would like to share with you.
All right, well, hold on, because I'll take you and Gary, and then I'll do my new guests, my next set of guests.
Okay.
All right, hold on. You
All
are
right.
listening to The Source, 96.1 FM, 900 AM, streaming live on WURDradio.com. Follow us on all social media platforms at onWURD. 215-634-8065 is the number to call in. I am Andrea Lawful Sanders, and we will be right back after these messages.
Do you have a K-12 student who does not have reliable internet at home? PHL Connected is here to provide eligible students with free high-speed internet to make sure they always stay connected to digital learning. Dial 211 and press 1 to ask questions and get connected today for free. The hotline is open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, so call anytime. That's 211 to get your student PHL connected today.
In Pennsylvania, it's now illegal to sell tobacco products, including cigarettes, cigars, chewing tobacco, vapes, or electronic cigarettes to anyone under 21. Stores can get fined up to $1,000 for selling tobacco to someone who is underage. Know the law. Check IDs. Post your retailer license. Make sure only employees have access to tobacco products, and only sell tobacco products to customers aged 21 and older. Paid for with Pennsylvania taxpayer dollars.
Save the date. Friday, December 4th from 1 p.m. till 4 p.m. for the 5th annual WURD Empowerment Experience. And this year, the virtual and on-air event will be extra special as we celebrate the career of radio veteran Cody Anderson and discuss the importance of independent black media. For more details about the 2020 WURD Empowerment Experience or to RSVP, visit WURDradio.com and stay tuned to WURD Radio. 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD. Lifting every voice till earth and heaven ring. This is WURD Radio. 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD Philadelphia. Black Talk Media.
You're listening to The Source with Andrea Lawful Sanders on WURD Radio. Streaming live on WURDradio.com and the WURD Radio app.
Welcome back to The Source. Let me go right on back to Tyrone. Come on, Tyrone. Let's finish up our conversation so I can talk to Gary. Howard, what's going on?
Okay. Well, I want to just remind folks that we went through a terrible administration that has choked the life out of us.
But Tyrone, listen, not only has he choked the life, he was in there shredding all the documents, tearing apart the planes. I mean, what kind of petulant behavior is this?
But I'm just trying to get folks on the mindset that we did what we had to do to bring in a new administration. And folks really need to start talking about how do we work with this administration to get us out of all the things that we have been suffocating from. Right. And I definitely, again, want to talk about Sultan Ahmed. He has a human capital bond bill. Now, they had a ballot question for a position. Why can't we have a ballot question about a human bond that's going to really, attack all the things that we are fighting against and fighting for? So
we would have to have people in leadership that would be willing to do something like that to fight on behalf of their constituents.
And so that's why I'm saying I wish we can talk more as in one accord to let's do things that's going to start building up instead of continuing talking about how we are being tore down. That's my point, Mother, and I just hope that we can really because we got a lot of people who are lost out here, who are looking to try to find a way. And if they keep hearing that there ain't nothing you can do about what's happening out here, then there ain't nothing they're going to do. Right. So we need to keep telling folks there are things that you can do. Those beautiful young people that you have on your program is talking about things that young people can do. So let's talk about what we can do, y'all. Let's start trying to come together and start trying to deal with the and address the concerns and the issues that that's beating us down. So let's try to do something so we can build us up. And I went to Woody's. I went to the barber shop, and it's like a museum. Ladies and gentlemen, you got to go to Woody's barber shop to get a little taste of Philadelphia history. Thank you, Mother, for allowing me to share.
You're welcome. Talk to you soon, and have a good holiday, okay?
And you do the same.
All right,
Thank
I will. Bye-bye. All right, Gary, can I take you? How are you, Gary?
Yes, how are you, Andrea?
Lord, I'm celebrating the Moja Coddle from now on. Forget this Thanksgiving and their dry turkeys. No, sir.
You know,
what's going on?
And Andrea, one thing I wanted to say, I want to thank you so much for your love and compassion for our people, and it's sincere, and I really appreciate that. I think earlier you were talking to Mary, and you were talking about the financial state of the city of Philadelphia,
yes.
But yet we're still giving these tremendous tax breaks, like the tax abatement program, to these individuals that could well afford to pay. And I just think going forward, and especially with our younger people who are moving into the political offices, we need to clean this city up. Yeah. This stuff could not happen without the cooperation of our elected officials today. And one of our elected officials is a real estate developer. We know that. And he's worth a lot of money. So our schools are antiquated, out of date. We have all these issues going on in our black community, and we've been forgotten and neglected. And it really pains my heart that a lot of those individuals look like me.
Yeah.
So we've got to get those younger people in there that really have a love for our people and are going to do the right thing. And we have to sincerely support those individuals. I am so tired of the smiling and grinning and sinning in our faces, and then we get stabbed to God truth. It's no way our children should be going to these schools that are so out of date and just deplorable. It's a disgrace. I don't know how they actually lay their heads down at night and go to sleep. But I just want to thank you again, Andrea, because you're sincere. You love our people. You have a heart for our people. And I just pray that we all wake up and see the game that's been played on us for decades. Thank you.
So Gary, let me ask you this. Oh, Ali is on. Okay. Let me ask you this quick question before I go over to Deborah and Ali Muldrow. The guns that are missing from the Philadelphia Sheriff's Office. Gary, work with Marvin.
Yes.
Work with Marvin.
Yes.
The average citizen cannot walk into the Philadelphia Sheriff's Office and take a gun out. There are over 200 guns missing, and they say that they're laying on the floor, guns are loaded in boxes, all sorts of things. How did we get to the place where we just manage in a way that is beneath par? How do we manage in a subpar way that even the armory, where you're supposed to be doing, where you're supposed to be taking inventory and making sure that everything is categorized and put away properly, they're just laying. That's why 200 plus guns are missing, right? What do we do about this kind of stuff?
You know what? How could that happen without the cooperation of somebody in that department?
That's what I'm saying.
How could those? And you know what? It's like, you see all these shootings within the city. They're responsible for these guns being out there. I don't know what name or what individual or group of individuals, but it's plaguing the black community. And guess what, Andrea? They don't care about us. And unfortunately, some of our younger people are falling into that trap, and they're just sitting back watching us eliminate one another.
Yep.
And it needs to stop. And for our elected officials to stand back and act like they don't know what's going on, if that was happening in a white community, trust me, they'd shut it down.
Oh, shut it down, shut it down. Lived in a white community for almost 30 years. Shut it down without even blinking. You wouldn't even hear it in the news. They'd shut it down so fast.
Exactly. So we've got to get angry enough where we just stop complaining and start making moves. I don't want to hear, well, you don't want to vote. You don't want to vote for Gary because I've been in office for 40 years. He doesn't have any experience. Guess what? I'm voting for Gary. Sorry.
Yeah.
Thank you, Andrea.
Oh, you're welcome. Take it easy. All right. Bye-bye. Wow. This has been wow. All right, so now we have Deborah Keys Wright, who joins us today with Miss Ali Muldrow to discuss dismantling systemic racism in school through the lens of equity and advocacy. Ali Muldrow was promoted and became the co-executive director of GSAFE in April of 2018 after working there as the Racial Justice Youth Organizer for 5 years. Ali has taught the GSAFE's Foundations of Leadership, a course based on experiences of LGBTQ youth of color since January of 2014. In 2015, she launched the New Narrative Project in the Dane County Juvenile Reception Center, a program that provided incarcerated young people with clear channels to academic success, civic engagement, and self-determination. In 2016, she was the inaugural recipient of the Corolla Gaines Collaborator of the Year Award for founding the Black Girls Are Magic. Oh, come on. All right, let me get. Miss Ali, are you there?
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
You
Thank
just
so
sound like somebody.
My biography.
Well, wait a minute. You sound like somebody mother just has to get to know. You're multifaceted. I'm loving it.
Thank you.
Listen.
Yes, she is. Yes,
What?
she is.
Wait a minute. Ali was also voted Madison's favorite activist for the first time. She went on to be voted Madison's favorite activist again the following year. Oh, my gosh. Look at you, Ali. Okay, so all right, let's talk. How are the two of you doing? Hi, Deborah.
Hey there, my sister. You know I like to bring you some phenomenal folks.
Yes, you do.
And you know, I will always just share, I'm just going to share a little bit of my wisdom through the lens of governance because, you know, I support school boards and the leadership at schools because I really want you and your audience to hear Ali. She is phenomenal. So can I just start out with my little nuggets first?
But okay? Yes, go ahead. Okay, because Ali, I'm still looking at Ali's stuff and I'm going, Ali is all that in a bag of chips.
She is. That's why I want to get out her way. I want to get out her way. Yeah,
yes, all right, go ahead.
You know, but here we are again, still talking about dismantling, you know, systemic racism. And unfortunately, this conversation will continue until we don't need to talk about it.
Yeah.
You know, so the question really is if people are wondering, you know, why are we talking about dismantling? You know, why is it necessary? And because it focuses on removing the predictability of success and failure, you know, of students that currently correlates with race or social and cultural factors. So that's why we have to dismantle it. And the dismantling, of course, comes from the top leaders in the school system, school board members, working collaboratively with their superintendent. You know, they have to address the long-standing issues through policy. Because as you know, setting policy is what they do.
Yes.
So setting a specific, setting specific focus on dismantling systemic racism, of course, is more than a conversation, you know, at the board table. But, of course, action has to be taken. The authority and the role of the Board of Education is to set the direction and the culture of the school. So it begins at the top. So this is why, you know, setting policy that specifically addresses systemic racism is critical to dismantling the behaviors and the practices that are so embedded in the school system today. You know, although many districts around the country are focusing on this work now, and I commend them for it because it's so important. But the policies, they have to be clearly designed to dismantle, not just some, you know, sugarcoating, clearly designed to dismantle systemic racism, cultural racism, and institutional. And that's a heavy lift. You know, the policies are, quote, the law of the district, which will help the staff and everyone else know the direction that, you know, the district is going. So, Deborah, I really appreciate that you call it a heavy lift. It is.
I'm like, I think that's the fun part. I tell people all the time, the best thing about being born in an unjust society is changing it.
Ali, and now I'm going to have to quote you on Twitter. Best thing about being born in an unjust society is changing it. Oh, my Lord.
It is. And that's why Ali and others just like her are so up for this task. And that's what we need, the youthfulness in this, you know. And so I'm just going to quickly share 4 different racial equity detours that Professor Paul Gorski shared in an article called Avoiding Racial Equity Detours. So this is what happens in the school system. So the first one is called pacing for privilege detour. This is the one that underlies the other three. So it speaks to how we coddle those who hesitate to invest in racial equity work while punishing those who are ready to invest. This is what's happening. There's too much focus on the comfort of individuals, of the adults, who have the least interest in this work. You know, and the professional development in some schools appear to be designed to accommodate the feelings and the fears of white educators. Now, I'm going to let that sit there because we have to call it what it is. Just this statement right here tells everyone who is going to do this work that you have to be focused and ready to deal with white privilege. And not everybody is ready for this work. You know, everyone wants to jump on the bandwagon. But
and you know what? And you know what else, Deborah? Let me say this: they also set up these sessions, you know, and tell folks that they can come if they choose to or not. Like what?
Yeah, giving them an option. Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. Giving them an option. And so the second one is poverty of culture detour. And as we know, poverty is important equity consideration. But however, although racial identities may inform cultural identities, racial identities are predominantly cultural misunderstandings. You know, racism is power that is structurally tangled. It is oppressive, and it has unjust distributions of access and opportunities for our students. You know, and quoting a famous teacher and author, Gloria Ladson Billings, it's not the culture of poverty, it's the poverty of culture. And there is an over-determination of culture being used to explain everything. Everyone's talking about the culture of poverty, you know. But as we know, being poor is not a disability, and our children can learn. And I'm really emphasizing can. They can learn. And the third one quickly is deficit ideology. Sure. This one right here, this is what I like. We spend too much time trying to fix our black and brown babies.
That's right.
You know, we're attempting to modify their mindsets and adjusting their emotions. This is where we need to step back as adults and analyze and understand and make sure what our understanding of equity is and what is our intent on focusing on equity. Everyone in the school system has a role to play, and so everyone needs to make sure we are not trying to fix our babies because they don't need fixing. They come whole. And lastly, celebrating diversity detour. Now, I bet a lot of people can relate to this one. However, I'm using celebrating is used differently right here. So think about a time when students of color, and I know this happened to me, were forced, encouraged, told, whatever, to integrate with students who have a different racial makeup, okay? Like I said, this happened to me. Although, you know, this exercise may be well-intended, perhaps they should have asked the students first, you know, who will benefit from this exercise?
Right.
You know, it's not the students of color, but when they did ask the students of color, they said they indicated this exercise benefits white students. And here we have white educators asking students of color to celebrate a diversity in which their experiences were invisible. See, this is what adults do. We are the oppressors. We can be the oppressors. You know, so this right here is one way that white privilege persists even in the context of diversity efforts. When everyone wants to jump on that bandwagon, we have to be very, very careful. You know, and so I'm going to stop right here. All I did was serve you an appetizer. Ali's going to come with the entree in the spirit of Thanksgiving. I thought I would share it that way. So I am so looking forward to Ali to really give us the meal right now. Those were just my little tidbits there.
Man, so Ali, let me just scroll down here. It says, after being elected in the fall of 2018, Governor Tony Evers appointed you to be member of the Public Safety and Criminal Justice Reform Policy Advisory Council. I just got appointed to the Criminal Justice Reform Advisory Council from the governor of this state in Pennsylvania, so I can't wait to have this conversation with you. Then you were elected to the Madison Metropolitan School District's Board of Education in April 2nd, 2019, and you began your 3-year term. So you're on the school board.
I am. I'm the vice president of the Madison Metropolitan School Board.
Listen. You should see me over here spinning. I don't know where to start with you.
I can't believe you know this much about me. I don't know if I've ever.
I told her.
Read this much information about me to me.
Oh.
Thank you so much for this introduction and for the recognition of this work.
And then you're a Wednesday host for Public Affair and WURD. You're passionate about human rights. I feel like I'm talking to my sister, literally. You are passionate about human rights, education, consent, promoting the well-being, health, and safety of all people. Where do you want to start? Just go ahead. I'm going to let you start wherever you want to start, Ali. Go ahead and tell the people.
I want to start with gratitude because I'm grateful to be here and to be having this conversation. And I will say that I think the response to the work I do often, the response to activism, the response to education, is that it is this hard, sacrificial work. I wanted to be a teacher for two reasons. One, I had great teachers. I had teachers who made me feel loved and seen and understood and celebrated. And I had horrible teachers. And both those teachers will make you want to be a teacher. But I will say, after working in education for the last 13 years of my life, I've been working in education since I was 19 years old. It is the greatest job you could ever have. There's nothing I love more. It is part of how I love my own children.
Oh, my Lord. Okay. So talk to me about, I don't even know where to start with you, Ali. There's so many segues. There's so many avenues I can jump on with you. Can I ask you this? How old are you?
I am 33 years old. I was born in Madison, Wisconsin in 1987.
I love it. I love it. I love it.
I tell folks all the time, Madison, Wisconsin, 1987. This is the fight that chose me, not the fight I chose.
Wow. Wow. And you're a partner, parent, and writer. I am just... So, all right. So what moves you? What got you into the spaces where you are now moving and shaking across Madison, Wisconsin, doing all the things that being an advocate, sitting on the school board president for the Dane County Rape Crisis Center. You're 33 years old. What was the impetus for getting you to the place where you are right now?
Oh, I think, there's been the catalyst in my life, right, which is the way I grew up and the fact that I grew up in a multicultural household in a very international neighborhood where people talked about what it meant to be different and celebrated one another's differences. The fact that I grew up in a school district that only graduated 38% of African Americans the year that I graduated. Right? I had a less than 50% chance of getting out of high school in the community I grew up in because of the color of my skin. And I think that those things have been major informants. But I think as I've gotten older, I think my activism and my career within education is really about who I am as a lifelong learner. And my parents would ask me two questions when I got home from school. My mom would ask me every single day. She'd go, "What'd you learn today?" We'd talk about it. And my dad would ask me, "What they lied to you about today?" And we'd talk about what I learned in history and what he thought was inaccurate and other ways of doing things. So I was raised to both appreciate my education, to treasure it, and to love it, and also to question it, to really test the parameters of who I could be if I wanted to learn and know more.
Wow. I'm going to take a quick break because I don't want to be interrupted when I ask you these next set of questions. Oh! You are just too wonderful. Hold on one second for me, please. You are listening to The Source, 96.1 FM, 900 AM, streaming live on WURDradio.com. Follow us on all social media platforms at onWURD. 215-634-8065 is the number to call in. If you are hearing the sound of my voice, I am Andrea Lawful Sanders, and we'll be right back after these messages.
This year's been tough, but it's given me a lot of time to learn new skills through the internet.
I've been joining more classes during lockdown.
I'm doing an internship.
I taught myself how to play guitar.
So when people ask,
will I be able to learn online?
I feel like I'm ready.
Internet Essentials from Comcast has connected millions of families from low-income homes to the internet. So no matter what back to school looks like, students can be ready for anything. Learn more at comcast.com/internetessentials.
He's back.
This is Reverend Al Sharpton.
Keeping it real with the Reverend Al Sharpton.
In times like these, we have to stay connected.
At a brand new time.
Monday through Thursday, 9 p.m. till midnight.
I'm excited that Keeping It Real returns to WURD.
Keeping it real
with the Reverend Al Sharpton.
Monday through Thursday, 9 p.m. till midnight.
This program is pre-recorded.
No phone calls, please.
Keep it locked to WURD 96.1 FM, 900 AM. WURDradio.com.
Need a new mattress? Stop by to see Julian, the mattress man, located at 7421 Stenton Avenue. You deal directly with the owner, Julian, to ensure the best prices on name brand mattresses like Sealy, Posturepedic. Call 215-424-5550. That's 215-424-5550.
You're listening to The Source with Andrea Lawful Sanders on WURD Radio. Streaming live on WURDradio.com and the WURD Radio app.
Welcome back to The Source. If you are just joining us, I am, every month I do a segment. And Deborah, we're going to have to name this segment because Deborah Keys Wright joins me every month to talk about racism and activism in our schools as it applies to school boards and superintendents. And every month she invites someone else from around the country. Today we have Miss Ali Muldrow, who is here to discuss dismantling systemic racism in schools through the lens of equity and advocacy. Her bio reads like the Lord have mercy. I don't know when Ali sleeps, but because Ali is 33 years old with a partner and children. And so I don't even know how all of this came about. But I suspect that your parents had a strong role in how you became the person that you are today. Now, let me ask you this question, because it's hard enough walking into school and being black. Imagine walking into school and being LGBTQ, right? So you taught the foundations of leadership, a course based on the experiences of LGBTQ color since January 2014. What was the impetus behind that, and how were you able to help the LGBTQ youth of color?
So I think the thing is that oftentimes we navigate a series of identities. I was born black. I was born a person who identifies as a woman, and I was born both the B and the Q in LGBTQ. So I consider myself both bisexual and queer. Right. And I, had worked in inclusive curriculum. I had worked in urban art forms for the Madison Metropolitan School District for about 7 years before I started teaching Foundations of Leadership. But Foundations of Leadership was really this opportunity to look at the movements of resistance that had brought people together, to look at people like Bayard Rustin, to look around the world and around the country for people who had been imprisoned and had been put in mental institutions and had been tormented for their way of living, their way of loving, and to acknowledge the resilience that those movements had cultivated over generations in order to get us where we are today. And it was also this opportunity to give young people a voice and a place to see themselves as activists, to see their learning as instrumental in their leadership. If they wanted to change the world, they could cultivate an understanding that would allow them to be more strategic in doing so.
Lord. Oh, Deborah, I don't have enough time. I could talk to Ali all day. All right, so talk to me now about dismantling systemic racism in schools through the lens of equity and advocacy. As a school board, as vice president of your school in Madison, Wisconsin, what are you seeing there and around in the school districts around you?
Yeah, so as a member of the Board of Education, I like anybody else, before you get on a school board, you go to the meetings and you talk about the issues. And, I had been working in education for a significant amount of time before I ever thought about running. But one of the issues we had continued to hit and continue to hit in our community is that we are far more enthusiastic about disciplining African-American children than pretty much anything else. Right? Yes. We are, in the last year, we ended our contract with the Madison Police Department. The school district is no longer funneling money into our police department in order to support school-based policing, because the truth is, in the entire 20-year span of that program, the majority of kids arrested at school every single year were African. African-American students have never been the largest demographic of children in this district. They were not 20 years ago, and they are not today. They make up about 17% of children who go to our high schools. And yet, they were 85% of children who were arrested in our high schools. We have to stop investing in the cruelest possible punishments being disproportionately handed out to African American children, and then wondering why they're struggling in school.
So, Ali, there is a group of young students at a local school district in Pennsylvania called Cheltenham School District. They're trying to do exactly what you all were able to do, to cancel the contract with the police department there. I'm going to connect you with them so that you can help them. Just give them some tips on what they need to do. How was that board able to remove that contract, get that, because it's tied in, it's so entrenched, right? School districts keep saying
I tell people all the time, it's really important who's on the board. If you look back at the Madison School Board, 5 years ago, it was majority men and it was majority white. Now the school board is 6 women and 1 man, and the majority of people on our board are people of color. This is not about people sympathizing with the issues of police brutality. This is about people living through them and then getting to advocate on behalf of themselves and their children for the first time.
Look at this. No, Deborah.
I know. I told you.
Ooh, we're going to call this segment Keys to Education. Okay. You can thank my husband for that. Because he said, whatever your last name is, Keys, we're gonna make that Keys to Education. So that's what we're going to call this segment from now on. So there you go. You can thank my husband for that. Miss Ali, listen, you are giving me all types of life, right? What else is happening in your schools? This was one great thing that you were able to do, to remove the contract between the police officers and the school buildings because of the disproportionate contact that they were having with the students there. If the students there made up 17% of the population, but there were 80% of the group arrested, that stat that you just quoted is happening in every suburban and urban school district wherever you can look, right? For some reason, our children are not seen as forgivable. Earlier, before you got on the air...
but that's the thing we have to really be honest about. We can't say for some reason. This is the United States of America. The United States of America enslaved black people. So it is not a coincidence that the same children that were enslaved, the same children that were murdered and hunted, the same children that were ripped away from their parents and souls are now not seen as fit for an education, are now not seen as fit for freedom. It's not a coincidence that we're the people think should be in cages.
Lord,
the American image of black people in shackles is a historical image, and it is reinforced through our criminal justice system today.
Yes.
This is not a coincidence.
Yes, this is the 6th-year anniversary of the indictment, the lack of indictment of the police officers in Ferguson, Missouri. That was today, 6 years ago. So I'm so glad that you're absolutely on, because you're speaking exactly to what we need to talk about. When we look at dismantling oppressive systems, right now in Philadelphia, we've talked about this quite a bit. It is the largest poor city in the country. And we have people who are in leadership who are just okay with the status quo. And when I say okay, it's just like, well, we'll do something over here and we'll do something over there. But what you just said was we moved people, right? We started voting folks out and putting new people in that were able to move the needle to get some things done. And that is the only way we're going to dismantle some of this stuff, right? We can't just sit around and talk about it. We have to be about it. I love it.
The entire body of governance has changed in the last 5 years.
Yes.
Nobody who was on this body of governance is on it. Nobody who was on it when Trump started is still on it, because the community said it's time to look at ourselves and go for progress, and go for the people who represent the interests of progress, the people who represent the interests of all children. That's what folks voted for, and so that's what folks are going to get. But you have to start cultivating that community where you're really challenging the status quo. It is great to have an opinion. Before I was on the school board, I wrote about things and I was an activist, and I still do all of those things. But when it came down to it at the end of the day, when I said, please don't vote to renew this contract, I wasn't one of the people sitting up there with a vote. And now I am. I don't have to beg anybody not to vote for it. I get to make that decision. So if you're a person out there who has conviction and talent and wants to change your community, I'm telling you, this is the fun part.
Yeah. This is the fun part. You are hilarious. What else has happened? What else are you seeing in your school district now, as we're talking about, and everybody's talking about diversity and inclusion training? What policies are being shifted to really add some teeth to this training that everybody is talking about?
Well, I think, we are changing the way we're spending, we're changing the way we're working, we're changing the way we approach things like seniority so that people of color are not the last hired and the first fired anymore in our community. But we are also, we hired a new superintendent, and our new superintendent, Dr. Carlton Jenkins, is the first black superintendent to serve this community. And it means something to a person like my father, who had a 7th grade education, who's from Philadelphia, went to Catholic school until he was 12 years old and dropped out right there. But it means something like him to see that the top of the school district in our community is a black man, is a brother.
Yes.
And it means something to my kids to know that there is a person not who sympathizes with racism, not who's read about racism, but who has experienced racism.
Yes.
And has a personal level of conviction when it comes to addressing it. And I think what Deborah said is so important. Who's in charge matters. Who's at the top matters. Who has a say in every dollar of your school system's budget, that matters.
Allie, you make my heart so happy. I'm running out of things. I just don't even know what to say. There's so much to ask you. So much to ask you. And then you did the new narrative project in the Dane County Juvenile Reception Center, a program that provided incarcerated young people with clear. What is your why, Allie? Everybody has a why. What is your why?
I feel like I am compelled by a love of learning, by a sense that being able to connect with myself as a learner is what saved my life, There was a time in my life, in my childhood, where I really doubted my intelligence. I had a series of educational experiences that deeply damaged my self-esteem in terms of my intelligence. And the people who helped me to reclaim my intelligence, who helped me to see myself as intellectually valid, are the people who saved my life. And, when I worked, it's great that you bring up the Dane County Juvenile Detention Center, because I worked in the Dane County Juvenile Detention Center for about 14 months. And, you see kids come in and out of there over and over again, and kids who have had really harsh things happen in their lives, and kids who have done things that are really harsh. And I worked with one kid, and he emailed me a few months ago on a day when I was having one of those days where you're just like, oh, it's so hard to be Ali. And he emailed me, and he said, hey, I've been trying to get a hold of you for a couple years. I just wanted you to know I really, really loved that class in the jail. And I thought, man, that's so cool. What are you doing now? And he said, you're going to laugh, but I'm in college in Texas. And I said, why would I laugh? What's your major? And he said, oh, my major is astrophysics. And I said, why? And he said, you probably don't remember this, but every time you came in the jail, you would ask me, what's your major? And I would always say astrophysics, just kind of messing with you. And then I got out, and I started to study it, and I was kind of into it. So it's my major.
Isn't that something? And so what we feed the mind is what we really work with, right? And so we have to really concentrate. What advice do you have for people who are running for school boards, Ali? And what can't they do?
My advice is know what you have in common with everybody who's voting for you. Know what connects you to your community. Know what you love about your community. And know what you're going to do. Because when you run, you're running to be a public servant. It's not a position of power. You have to serve the community. You have to represent the interests of all children. Yes. So love the community you want to represent, and stand by what you say you're going to do.
And stand by. Come on now, stand by what you say you're going to do. And what would you tell them not to do?
I would say don't make it more about yourself than it is. I'd say one of the biggest mistakes people make in positions of leadership is thinking it's about them. Have enough imagination to think about how things will be different 5 years from now because of the work you did, and that no one will remember you did it, but everybody will get to live in the impact of it. Don't make it about you.
Okay, Deborah. Deborah.
Absolutely. And that's what I always remind board members. It's not about you. Your constituents are really those babies who are not old enough to vote for you. So your decision-making should be student-centered at all times. And forget about the nonsense with adults, because we spend too much time focusing on adult issues than our children. And that's just not acceptable.
And they get so caught up on, well, I'm the president of the board, and people love me, and people call me, and people, that just, when I see people do that kind of stuff, it speaks to their insecurities, and they don't even realize it, right?
Yeah, and the ego, Andrea, one of the most dysfunctional boards I ever worked with had 5 members who had PhDs. 2, it was a board of 7, 2 had MDs. And they were the most dysfunctional board.
Yeah.
Because they knew everything.
Yeah.
They knew everything.
Couldn't
no, and that's one of the things my dad would always say to me.
I just can't help you.
You know, when you want to learn, the thing that gets in your way is thinking you know.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes,
That's
yes,
it.
yes. And when you stop being a sponge, you can forget it. When you think everybody owes you something and you know everything that's going on around you, you can absolutely forget it. There's a guest that has a question for you, Ali. Madeline, are you there?
Man, thank you so very much.
Oh, you're welcome.
It's kind of 2-part, and I need to give you the background because you might know Philadelphia is the only county in the whole state of Pennsylvania that does not pick its own school board. We don't elect ours. They give us first.
Miss Madeline, turn down whatever is in the background, please, because you're tinny and you're echoing.
Oh, I'm sorry. I don't know.
That's okay, because I want Ali to hear you. So Ali, she's saying that Philadelphia is the only county in Pennsylvania where we're not allowed to elect our school board, right?
We do not.
And so they're appointed by the mayor of the city.
That's like Chicago.
67 counties, 67. Everybody else elects their own school board. So I've been trying to say for the last 30 years, I really believe we need to change that. And it's a couple people who say it. But most people say, well, it won't make a difference. You know, they try to tell me our children are stupid. Our children are not stupid. And they will lie now and say that they didn't, but they do, because they are allowing our children to read on a grade, darling. You hear me? I'm 87 years old. My heart breaks every day when I say to a kid coming from school, "Hi, babe, what you learn today?" Oh, really, nothing new.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes me sick.
Yeah. What's your question, Miss Madeline?
In Philadelphia, so that we had a report that came to light, whereby our children had 27% are zero proficient. Zero proficient in Philadelphia public school system. And we spend how many? So they say $3-4 billion a year on school. And we don't have gym, and we don't have music, and do we have art? We don't have cooking classes anymore, woodwork classes. We have police. We don't have enough nurses to help our children get their medicine. We don't have counselors to guide them until.
So Miss Madeline, what's your question, honey? Because what's your question?
That's what we don't have, and maybe you can provide us with something of how we can do this, because the politicians and the people who run the politicians don't seem to understand that when we have good people like Dr. Ackerman, they lie on her, they get rid of her, and then we're back to where we started. We need a parenting university here. We need teachers who come to teach and show our children love and respect, not ignore them. Okay?
Thank you so much, Miss Madeline. I appreciate it. I do. I appreciate it.
I appreciate what you bring to Philly. Girl, I'm thinking of calling you up and seeing if you're going to be the mayor. We need a mayor.
No, ma'am. No, ma'am. That is, you're not doing me any service by doing that. No, ma'am.
I won't mention it again. I won't mention it.
All right, Miss Madeline. Hang up, and then I'll let Ali answer the question, okay? All right. Bye-bye. All right, so listen, Ali, what she's saying is the system here, the public school system here in Philadelphia is lacking, for want of a better expression. They spend $3 to $4 billion a year in salaries and whatever else, and the buildings are outdated, asbestos, all sorts of things. Lots of them have been online learning now because of COVID-19. And a recent report came out that says 27% of the 200,000 students that are attending this school district are 0% proficient in anything. Did you hear me? 27%, and it is a school district that's mostly black and brown children. What advice do you have? Because it's a conversation I have consistently on this radio station, which is why Deborah is on every month, right? To address these issues that we're having. What advice do you have for someone like Miss Madeline, who is just like, I can't take it anymore?
I think the compelling conversation around how do we shift education in a place where we don't feel empowered through the electoral process, right? And I think the need to examine, why is our mayor appointing our school board members? What is the budget of our school board? How is our tax base being informed? And what are we really reaching for when it comes to our kids in terms of education? If your system is failing you, then the leadership of that system becomes irrelevant. Because at the end of the day, the people who fund schools are taxpayers, right? And so your schools are yours. They are public property. And if they are being poorly managed, you as a member of the public, as a member of the community, as a parent, as a child, you have the right to say you want better.
Yes.
You have the right to pursue examples of what has worked. And I would say you can't underestimate the people of Philadelphia.
Yeah, come on. I say it too, Ali. I say it all the time. I said, you cannot underestimate the people here. I think the people are awakening. I've seen signs of awakening. And so folks who are thinking that business as usual will continue are in for a big, juicy surprise. I'm telling you. Because they've gotten complacent.
There's a lot within that conversation. When you say students are 0% proficient, I say, when you show me a test like that, what you're telling me is not how the kid can read or how the kid can do math or anything else. What you are showing me is how the kid feels about their school and how their school feels about them.
Yes.
Okay? So this isn't a measurement or a reflection of our children's intelligence. In no way. Nor is it a reflection of what they're able to do. It is a reflection of us, of the way we manage our investment and the way we plan for the future. It's a reflection of our imagination as adults.
Yes. Go ahead, Deborah.
Yeah, and Ms. Madeline, when she was in, of course, in Philly, they're elected. I mean, they're appointed.
Appointed, yes.
Because they're appointed, you should not back off of holding people accountable. Just like we have the outrage about when there's social unrest and things of that nature, we should be just as much outraged about the conditions of our schools.
Yeah. Absolutely. And we also have to have a common sense
we should be there
about
every single day. It's not acceptable because our children are falling through the cracks every single day. And that's not acceptable.
But the thing is our children are being, shuttled into a prison industrial complex that is better funded than our school system. You can't tell me you don't have enough money to educate my child, but you have enough money to imprison my child, because imprisoning my child costs more. So what you're telling me is you are not willing to spend the money when it will benefit my kid, when it'll get them health insurance, when it'll get them to school, when it'll make sure that they can have a decent life. You're willing to deprive them of that, to risk the violence that deprivation ensues in order to incarcerate them. And there's nothing intelligent about that investment.
Nothing intelligent about it except for greedy people who are wanting to make more money. Hold on. Let me take a quick break, and then we'll come right back. You are listening to The Source. This conversation is all of everything that I can imagine. 96.1 FM, 900 AM, streaming live on WURDradio.com. Follow us on all social media platforms at onWURD. 215-634-8065 is the number to call in. We will be right back after these messages.
Enterprise Exterminators, located 4943 Wayne Avenue, specializing in lantern flies, termites, bed bugs, fleas, mice, and roaches. Do-it-yourself kits are available. Call now, 215-849-7070.
Want the latest in Word swag? Check out the shop tab on WURDradio.com. Hoodies, tees, and more in a variety of colors. The shop tab on WURDradio.com. Show the world that you're all about black. Talk Media. Word Radio presents the following wellness tip to support our listeners with mindfulness and motivation as we continue to navigate the pandemic together.
Hi, this is Helana, your resident health and wellness coach, with tips to help you stay well. Many of us have heard this term before, but may not know what it really means. Compassionate living brings mindfulness and peace to the center of your daily life. Compassionate living can look like this. Number 1, be gentle with yourself and those around you. Number 2, choose to speak kindly to others, even when you're upset. Number 3, become a good listener and practice empathy at home and at work. We sometimes think in order to live with compassion, we have to become someone else. Not so. In fact, allowing peacefulness to be at the center of our daily interactions is something we can practice every day. Go ahead and try it today. Stay well with Word. Happy living.
Stay well with Word. Connect with us at WURDradio.com.
You're listening to The Source with Andrea Lawful Sanders on WURD Radio. Streaming live on WURDradio.com and the WURD Radio app.
Welcome back to The Source. This is the final segment of the show, and I'm so glad that, Deborah Keys, Wright, and Miss Ali Muldrow are on with me today. We've been on since 3 o'clock, and this conversation is riveting. I am learning so much. One of the things that is sticking out with me is that when people are on the outside looking in, they can diagnose our issues far better than the people that are sitting steeped on it on the inside, because the folks here are very disturbed and just so aggravated about what's going on in this city, but they just feel so stuck. Like, we want something to change, we need something to change, but how do we change it, right? And here we have Ali and Deborah just giving us great clues. One of the things Ali says is, oh my Lord, wait, let me write this down. She needs to, if the system is failing you, the leadership is irrelevant. Lord, irrelevant. She's absolutely right. When it becomes more about the feelings and conjectures of the folks, and if I could just take some pictures and show you the things that I see happening in this city, it would make your toes curl. But she's absolutely right. If the system is failing, if the schools are failing, if city government is failing us, then the leadership is irrelevant. We can't keep saying it's not our fault. It has to be somebody that can stand up and say, let's get this together. Let's pull the groups of people together. And while it always starts at the head, I have always said this. There are people working around those who are in the leadership and at the head who are just as irrelevant because they're not getting any work done. They got the position and they just push paper all day long and only move. They're reactive instead of being proactive. That impacts the lives of people every single day. We have to stop hiring people just because they're friends or we want to give them a job or whatever else that comes along with it. We got to be responsible with the positions that we have. Seriously. Ali and Deborah, I'm going to give you the last few words. Go ahead. I don't even know where you want to jump in.
Right.
As Miss Madeline said, everybody's toes on fire.
Ali, I'm going to let you go last. What I'm going to say quickly is, yes, the school board members are appointed in Philly, but who appoints them? That person is an elected official. Mm-hmm. So just like we showed our power in this election cycle, we can do it again on every level. Mm-hmm. Local level is so important. And we should just focus on, if we are not educating our children, that is education malpractice. And then we should be ashamed of ourselves.
Wow. Education malpractice. My Lord. All right, Ali, your turn.
Yeah, I just want to thank you again for interviewing me and letting me be part of this conversation. And I do want to say, I think that there's a series of narratives that we have to let go of as we move forward, right? Our expectations of leaders have to change. This isn't about whose fault it is. It's about who's willing to take responsibility, who's willing to take a hit, who's willing to roll up their sleeves, who's willing to get to work, okay? And, that is why you're seeing women and mothers and folks of color across the country rise to this occasion, is because that's always been the people who are really doing the work. Right? Yes. So if you are ready to do the work, you are ready to lead, if you're ready to take responsibility instead of place blame, you're ready to lead. And those are the people we have to look to in our community. And the other myth we got to let go of is that there's this idea of scarcity. We only talk about scarcity in our country when it's time to treat each other well. Okay? We don't talk about scarcity when we're going to build a prison. We don't have to go to referendum to build a new jail, right? We talk about scarcity when we treat each other well, when one another need health care, when one another need help, support, education. When we want to buy a book, we talk about not having enough money, and when we want to buy a bomb, we go into debt. We have to let go of that. There is enough to do the right thing.
Yes, yes. Lord, Ali Muldrow, you got to come back. You've got to come back. Thank you so much for being a part of this conversation. You and Deborah Keys Wright, it was a pleasure having you both on, and the people are on the Facebook page just you've given, I think you've lit a fire, and that's exactly what we needed. So, it only takes a spark, right? And you're there. You're in your 30s, doing amazing things, stepping up, living in your truth, living in a lifelong learner, and teaching how it is done by your own actions. So proud of you. And Deborah Keys Wright, my sister, the day I met you at the National School Board Association was probably one of the most important days of my life, because here we continue all these years later to have dialogue and conversations around how we can get the right things done on behalf of students and families in education that goes beyond our feelings, and how important we think we are. Thank you both so much. You enjoy the rest of your week, okay?
And thank you, Andrea. You are my hero.
Oh, you're quite welcome. Talk to you both soon. Be safe.
Sure.
All right, bye-bye. This show. Thank you all so much. I will not be on Thursday because there will be a holiday programming, so I'll get to be able to sit around and enjoy my sons. We're going to Zoom our sons and have dinner, just my husband and I will make little goodie bags for certain folks, who for whatever food I make, because we're not going to eat all of this food. And I'm going to challenge you. Something that Ali said was, we have to let the narrative go that it's not whose fault it is, but who is willing to take responsibility. Something that we've been talking about here. And I've said this time and again, if the leadership would just open up their mouths and say, you know what, okay, here we go. Let me just go ahead. Let's figure it out. There's some things that were done wrong. Let's come back to the table. Mea culpa. The thing is that there's so much pride and attitude and lack of emotional intelligence and really just no idea how to think like a critical thinker. It's always about what's in it for me. We don't get into office for what is in it for me. It's what's in it for the people that I'm supposed to serve. If you don't love people, if you're not kind to people, if you don't have people's interests at heart, you should not be doing this work, right? And that is from leaders of industry right into political office to school boards and everything in between, right? Work on who you are as a person. Work on your core values, because if those core values aren't right, then everything else falls apart. We just cannot continue to operate this way. So it's not about who's at fault, but who's willing to take responsibility. Who's willing to take responsibility for the lives of the citizenry here in Philadelphia? Who's willing to take responsibility for the lives of the children in the education system, where 27% of them are considered 0% proficient? Nobody should get up every day and talk about how wonderful they are as an educator or as a leader when all these systems are failing us all around the place. I am going to challenge you, as you sit at your tables and you eat and enjoy your time with your family and friends and stuff ourselves with food, that we take inventory about what is it that we really bring to the table of life. Forget the food. What is it that we're really bringing to the table of life? What are we offering to society that is tangible and real and can make a difference beyond how it makes us look and feel about ourselves? If we can do that, and this Thursday, as you're all sitting around celebrating, then we can come up with solutions to make sure that this city and the world is a better place. Coming up next is Evening Words with Nick Taliaferro. I believe Tiffany Bacon is still in for him. I am Andrea Lawful Sanders. I'll see you when I see you. Goodbye.